Chapter 741, Moved Dong Chen. This guy is still at Divine Realm, but he has killed nearly 20 martial artists at Divine Realm. They went to the Dark Abyss, as if they were walking on the ground. He managed to refine Halin Prince, who has lived for thousands of years. What's going on? Dong Chen, the Grand Elder of Heavenly Knights sect, could not help thinking about these and was trying to keep calm at the same time. Really? Under normal circumstances, there would be some expression on one's face when he or she was praised. If all these were true and credible, Dong Chen would take it as a very proud honor. But what was Zhang Han doing? There was no expression on his face. It seemed that in his eyes, killing the Divine Realm martial artists mentioned by Chen Chengqing was simply like killing a chicken. It seems that I really underestimated him. For the second time, Dong Chen thought highly of Zhang Han. But what Zhang Han did was not enough to surprise Dong Chen. Seeing the admiration on Chen Chengqing's face, Dong Chen said indifferently, "Don't be so proud, my disciples can also fight with anyone at Divine Realm." Chen Chengqing paused and said, "Uncle Zhang doesn't know yet, so I came to tell him." "Well, I'd better leave since I can't afford to offend you." After looking around for a while, Chen Chengqing went back to Zeph in a dejected state. Zhang Han was already immune to this aged man and did not bother to explain to him. Zhang Wangyu smiled and then said, "Son, Uncle Dong's personal disciple is the strongest in South Mountain. He broke through to Earth Realm 2 years ago and then to the middle stage 2 months ago. He has been cultivating with Uncle Dong for more than 5 years. While you have only cultivated for 1 year, in a few years, you can show Uncle Dong how you can beat his disciple." By the way, the young man's name is Yunfei Yang, who is skillful and powerful. Wang Xiao and Jiang Bing, whom you met a few days ago, both have been defeated by Yunfei Yang more than once. Zhang Han did not know whether to cry or to laugh. What's the point of comparison? But seeing the pride and expectation in his father's eyes, Zhang Han nodded and said, "Okay, I'll beat him up a few times after I break through to innateness stage." Dong Chen snorted, expressing his feelings about Zhang Han's self-reliance. Although his attitude was similar as before, he had already attached great importance to Zhang Han. Heavenly Knights sect can be divided into South Mountain and North Mountain. Uncle Dong and the third elder are mainly responsible for South Mountain, while the first elder is responsible for North Mountain. There are 8 peaks in total. Among the disciples, the best one in South Mountain is Yunfei Yang, Uncle Dong's disciple. Wang Xiao is the disciple of the third elder and he ranks first among the disciples of Purple Leaf Peak, the third among the disciples of South Mountain. Jiang Bing is the chief disciple of Blue Fire Peak and the best one there, the 7th in South Mountain. Zhang Wangyu slapped Zhang Han on the shoulder with a smile. "I am telling you the information to stimulate your fighting spirit. There are lots of talents in Heavenly Knights sect and I want to see you beat them all." "Oh, no problem. If you like, I can satisfy your desire. After all, you are my father." Zhang Han chuckled. "Don't be too proud." Dong Chen raised his eyebrows slightly, looked at Zhang Han and said slowly, "Even if you had a perfect breakthrough, you are still at God Realm medium stage and unable to defeat any of them. Why is the old man so bad-tempered?" Zhang Han felt really helpless. Just then, COO, Tiny Tot was wandering around in the hall, touched by many hands and finally wandered over to Zhang Han. Dong Chen just finished his speech, although Tiny Tot, who was just starting his spiritual wisdom, could not understand it. Xian knew what he meant. After vaguely hearing Dong Chen's words, Xian could not help murmuring, "Uncle Dong criticized my husband again. He doesn't know anything, so he is talking nonsense. Well, if he knew my husband was an immortal, he would be scared to death." As if feeling this little dissatisfaction from Xian, Tiny Tot became angry. It raised its head and pondered for 3 seconds, as if thinking about its brother's usual appearance, that was, Bang. It sat on the ground with its paws apart. Buzz. All of a sudden, a wisp of light black fog wrapped around Tiny Tot's lower body, and a small item which looked like sausage appeared. Sizzle. A water column spurted forth and took Dong Chen by surprise. Is this little thing peeing at me? How could it even create a urinary organ of its own? As soon as his eyebrows were raised, Dong Chen's spiritual force emerged to form an invisible shield. Unexpectedly, the 10-centimeter high water column completely bypassed his spiritual force. Dong Chen blinked and formed a shield with his spiritual sense. Sizzle. The water column again bypassed his second means of protection. It sprayed at Dong Chen's face at an incredible speed. Puff. Zhang Guangyu coughed violently. Dong Chen asked, "What is he doing?" He was little confused and at the same time, surprised. "What is this thing that can bypass my defense? What is it?" His strength was at the peak among all the martial artists at Heaven Peak stage, and no one could break his defense at will. But how could Tiny Tot break his defense in this way? Dong Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. "COO, COO. Tiny Tot patted his buttocks and walked back, as if asking for credit. Dong Chen was stunned. He wiped the water from his face subconsciously with his right hand, then looked at Zhang Guangyu and Zhang Han in a daze. "What is it?" Zhang Guangyu held back his smile and did not dare to open his mouth. He was afraid that he would burst out in uncontrollable laughter. For many years, the Grand Elder has never made a fool of himself. Now he has. Ha ha ha. Zhang Guangyu laughed soundlessly. Even the corners of Zhang Han's mouth twitched. He coughed softly and said, "It is not very good now, and I will still lose money over it later." "What kind of spirit beast is it?" "It's just an ancient cursed rock." "What?" Dong Chen's eyes suddenly widened and his tone became sharp because of the shock. His voice even attracted the attention of Chen Chengqing, Zifan Wangzhang nearby. The Grand Elder of Heavenly Knights sect was a supermaster who always remained calm in any situation. They thought that such strong masters were extraordinary and would never be surprised. Seeing this, Zhang Guangyu said in a low voice, "Uncle Dong, you heard him right. The boat of curse, that strange boat, is what this little thing was born into." COO. Bar. Dong Chen slowly gulped while gazing at Tiny Tot, which Meng Meng was stroking with her little hands. "It is a rock?" He could not believe it. He did not expect that this creature in the legend would make an appearance. What's going on? Is he so rich? He has so many spirit beasts. He really did not expect that this worthless young man in his eyes was really that rich. Zhang Han laughed at his words. In fact, his father was wrong. The boat of curse was not Tiny Tot, but was formed by the accumulation of some energy when it was born. In a word, it was the supernatural power of Tiny Tot. Like a kind of breath, it was insignificant to it, but very important to this world. He realized that his father and Dong Chen seemed to regard it as an ordinary rock. Tiny Tot was an ancient cursed rock, far better than the ordinary rock. They don't seem to know how powerful the ancient demonic beast is. Zhang Han was amused. He remembered that he had told his father about the ancient demonic beast, but he did not seem to understand. Yes, only when he saw its power with his own eyes would he then have a deep understanding. It took Dong Chen 5 seconds to calm down. For such a strong man, the fact that this thing could shock him for 5 seconds was extraordinary. He looked at Zhang Han and hesitantly asked, "Is it yours?" "My wife's." Zhang Han replied blandly. "What?" Dong Chen was stunned again. After thinking about it for 2 seconds, he looked hesitant, as if he was embarrassed to speak. After 3 seconds of hesitation, he said in an embarrassed tone, "This, very high-end, Han, you." He began to call Zhang Han Han. "It's a treasure and it's difficult to cultivate. How about giving it to me? I can provide it with some food, and when it grows up, it will become the mountain-protecting beast of Heavenly Knights sect. What do you think?" At this moment, Dong Chen was deeply moved. After all, it is a rock that only appears in myths. Once it grows up, its combat effectiveness will be extremely amazing. And even in the dark world, it is at the top level. Few people have seen a rock, and it is said to be a giant beast whose size can even block the sun. Human beings are like dust in front of it. If we can train it to be a guardian beast of Heavenly Knight's sect, when we go out to war, all the disciples can ride on the giant rock and show off in the small world. It will be really magnificent. It's so cool. His imagination made Dong Chen so excited that he broke out in goosebumps. He did not notice that Zhang Han's eyes were bright. Well, yes, of course I have no problem. Do you really agree? Dong Chen wanted to confirm it. Yes. Zhang Han nodded, but it's still too small. You can take care of its food, Uncle Dong. It doesn't need to eat for the time being, and I'll inform you when it needs to. But I can guarantee that it will grow to be a strong fighter in 5 years. Zhang Han smiled secretly, because Tiny Tot would need countless spirit treasures for its development. Zhang Han did not think too much about it, but this was good news. That's settled. Dong Chen said quickly and then calmed down. A few years later, when Dong Chen became poorer because of Tiny Tot, he always growled in a complex manner, "It eats too much." But now he was very happy. While they were chatting, the yacht slowly approached the main gate of Heavenly Knight's sect. A few people came to meet them at the gate. There were not many rules here, because martial artists should pay more attention to their cultivation. Huh? Jiang Bing looked puzzled. How did they come in a yacht? Maybe our young lord enjoys the luxurious secular life. A few people shook their heads. In their view, those who pursued money were not worthy of admiration. Chapter 742, Little Hai's Fangs. Clatter. As the yacht drew closer, it made waves that lapped at the shore. Here we are. Xian held Meng Meng's hand and looked at the gate of Heavenly Knight's sect with her big beautiful eyes. She saw the huge double dragon motif, the enormous gate and the 3 characters Heavenly Knight's sect carved onto it. It was really overwhelming. When they were near their destination, Xian put on a thin pink coat for Meng Meng, and now they were similarly dressed in blue jeans, white sports shoes, white short sleeves, a pink coat and a pink cap. Xian and Meng Meng walked hand in hand, stepping out in style in this girlish trend. Papa, come on, we're going to get off the boat. Meng Meng was very happy, waving her right hand and calling out to her papa. At this time, Dong Chen was asking Zhang Han about his cultivation. I think your skill is more suitable. I'm coming. Whoosh. A figure and a breeze swept by and Zhang Han left directly. He left Dong Chen, who had a stern look on his face. When the family of 3 walked out hand in hand, Dai was very excited and wanted to look around instantly. It was probably thinking that this was the first time that it had been away from home. Little Hai was still quite calm and followed behind Zhang Han quietly. Tiny Tot waddled along, its gait totally resembling that of a penguin. Zhang Guangyu and Rong Jiali followed them from the side, and the large group slowly got off the boat. Oh, Papa, this place is so big. Meng Meng said when she saw the huge gate. Yes, this is a big mountain. Zhang Han laughed. Let's go. Meng Meng quickly walked down the steps to the shore and ran to the main gate. Woo, woo woo woo. Dai looked at Little Hai and Tiny Tot, pointing to the front gate. It was so large. Even the elders of the Wang family was shocked. Zhang Guangyu was used to the view, but he was still excited each time he looked at the magnificent gate. Looking at the group from a distance, Jiang Bing and others were discussing about them. They are coming. Young master is back. Young lord is also very handsome. Is that his wife and daughter next to him? They are so beautiful. The people following him are all martial artists, and there are many grandmasters among them. It seems that young lord lives a good life outside. Why is there a gorilla behind them? It seems to be close to divine realm. That dog is about to reach grandmaster late stage. It's unbelievable. They are about to catch up with the strongest spirit beasts in our sect, but the penguin behind them is ordinary and not good looking. The first elder's ears were very good, and when he heard this, he immediately glared at that guy. You are uglier than it. This is the divine beast that will protect the sect in the future. Do you understand? Jiang Bing and his men came over, still deep in discussion. Young master, madam, grand elder. After saying hello, Jiang Bing looked at Zhang Han and said with a smile, "Hello, young lord, welcome. Is she your daughter? She's so lovely." Meng Meng did not expect a strange elder brother to say hello to her. Although she had received many praises, she was still pleased and waved her hand. "Nice to meet you." Although they were unfamiliar with each other, they all smiled at Meng Meng's greeting. There was an old man at the back of the crowd, who had been staring intently at Dai and Little Hai all the time, as if he was appreciating two beauties who had just finished bathing. Woo! Dai was confused. "Why are you staring at us, old man?" Seeing where the man's eyes were staring, Zhang Guangyu could not help laughing out loud. Whoosh! Sure enough, the old man ran to them at full speed. He looked at Dai carefully and touched Dai's fur. He could not put down his hand. He seemed to like Dai so much that he could not bear to part with it. Woo, woo woo woo. Dai took 2 steps to the side. Its facial expression was a little disgusted as it waved to that old man to go away. "Wow, amazing, it's going to reach divine realm, right?" The aged man liked Dai very much. "Well, Han," Zhang Wangyu said, "this is the 5th elder who guards the North Mountain and often teaches disciples in Command Beast Speak." "I see." Zhang Han nodded and glanced at the aged man. The Grand Elder's face was thin. He had deep-set eyes, his face was always emotionless and he had white beard and long hair. The 5th elder had short strands of wispy white hair, he was a little bald, his face was oval and his appearance was quite distinctive, making him easy to be remembered. "Let's go up the mountain first, it will take us about 2 hours to walk to our residence." Zhang Wangyu smiled. So they went up the mountain and crossed the wide gate. There were many mountain roads in it, which were all pure natural roads because of the flat terrain. Jiang Bing and the others were puzzled, not knowing why they did not just fly there directly. After chatting with Zhao Feng and his men, they realized what was going on and then took a look at Meng Meng. It was true, it was not good for Meng Meng, who was so young, to come into contact with the martial arts world too early, so they all walked up the mountain. The 5th elder stared at Dai all the way. He liked this giant beast, but he was not so interested in Little Hai. After a while, he began to hold on to Zhang Guangyu and muttered to him behind the group. Zhang Han also heard him saying that he wanted to invite Dai to Command Beast Speak. "No, that's my granddaughter's playmate." Zhang Guangyu refused directly, even without Zhang Han's warning. Out at the front, Meng Meng, who was holding Zhang Han and Xian's hands, asked, "Papa, are we going to climb the mountain?" It was flat at close range, but the radian of the mountain could still be seen from a distance. The mountain was covered with a variety of trees like bamboo, willow, poplar and some other unknown beautiful trees, as well as all kinds of flowers and herbs. The visual impact was quite strong. After all, such beautiful scenery was rare. For the little princess's question, Zhang Han smiled and answered, "Yes, we are going to climb the mountain. When you are tired, Dad will carry you." "Okay." Meng Meng replied happily. After walking up for more than 10 minutes, Meng Meng slipped into Zhang Han's arms. After staying for half an hour in Zhang Han's arms, she came down and walked for more than 10 minutes. She was very happy. In this way, after 2 hours of climbing, the group reached the middle of the mountain. In front of them was a small mountain about twice the area of Mount New Moon. Compared with the whole Heavenly Knights sect, it was like a small dirt hill only. There were many buildings on the mountain which resembled the residences of the ancient kings and lords, but with a retro style. "This is where your mother and I usually live. There are so many rooms that we can all live in it," Zhang Wangyu said with a smile. Rong Jiali looked at Meng Meng and said with a smile, "Granddaughter, Grandma will arrange for you a most beautiful house with the best scenery." "Well, thank you, Grandma." Meng Meng thanked her very politely. Meng Meng was obedient. clever and beautiful, often endearing herself to others. Walking into the gate, they saw a small platform inside. In front of it, there was a large cloistered pool. There were 3 roads leading to the mountain and 4 pavilions in the middle of the pool. What made Meng feel strange was that there seemed to be no way to go to the pavilion. From the straight road in the center, through the second gate, there was a square and a hall. Through the hall, they arrived at the top of the mountain and saw the clean and tidy building area at the back and a lawn. At the end of the lawn was a forest leading to the mountain, and the trees there were denser. From the foot of the mountain to this place, they did not meet or see too many people and buildings, because Zhang Wenyu specially chose this route for them. How large it is! Meng looked ahead and felt that this was a really huge place. The main reason was the panoramic view. From here, they could see many buildings on the right side and a huge expanse of the lawn, which gave them a feeling of openness. Let's go. Zhang Wenyu patted Zhang Han on the shoulder with a smile. When they came to the courtyard, they began to choose their residences. There was a round house with many rooms, which were enough for Zhao Feng and his men to live. There was a single courtyard on the side, and the house area there was quite large, about 1,000 square meters. This was for Zhang Han's family of 3, while Zhang Wenyu and Rong Jiali lived in the small house next door. Zhao Feng took Zhang Han's luggage to his residence and then went back to his own residence with Instructor Liu. Instructor Liu had been looking around excitedly. Hey, we're here at the Heavenly Knights sect. It's really big here. Did you see that younger martial sister just now? She is pure and beautiful, but I think my Lanlan is better than her. Ah, Lanlan will be at Divine Realm the next time I see her. When can I defeat her? If I want to pursue her, I have to defeat her first. While he was speaking, Instructor Liu seemed to be a little depressed. Zhao Feng and all the others laughed. Don't show off, will you? Don't you know why Captain Jiang managed to beat you up? You know that she has already fallen in love with you, but it's hard for you to defeat her. How long has she been cultivating? You are still a greenhorn now and you can't even resist her attack until 2 or 3 years later. Elder Meng said with a smile. They thought the relationship between Instructor Liu and Jiang Yanlan was very interesting. While talking, they also returned to their own rooms. Each room was large and of the same design. Zhang Li, as arranged by Zhang Wenyu, was in the second bedroom, was looking at Liang Hao with a defensive expression. It made Liang Hao laugh bitterly. After settling all the people down, Zhang Wenyu asked someone to prepare lunch and treated the guests to good wine and dishes. They had lunch in the middle of the yard. Because Zhang Han and others had just arrived, they had a meal together as a welcome for the guests. On the way up the mountain, Dong Chen, the Grand Elder, went back to his own residence. The 5th Elder sat with them for a while, and reminded Zhang Wenyu to feed Dai before he left. Zhang Wenyu ordered someone to roast 2 geese weighing more than 15 kilograms, but he was totally wrong about their food intake. As a result, soon after eating the 2 geese, Dai looked at Little Hai, made a gesture with its palm and called out twice, "Brother, they are not enough to stuff my teeth." Hiss hiss hiss, hiss hiss hiss. Xiao Hai sat on the ground, sniffed around and its ears stood up. After listening for 5 seconds, its eyes lit up. Woo woo, woo woo woo, 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 woo. Oh. By exchanging information, they knew that there seemed to be food at the top of the mountain and Little Hai could hear their calls. Whoa! With a wave of its hand, Dai began running quickly on the grassland with Little Hai. It was only after taking 2 steps forward that they remembered that Tiny Tot was behind them. Dai picked Tiny Tot up, put it on its shoulder and then continued to run on 4 legs. They galloped all the way to the top of the mountain and then went toward the north. After crossing a stream, they finally saw something different next to a hill. A bull with black skin and silver horns was drinking water and relaxing there. Judging from its chi, it was also close to Grandmaster middle stage. In its own territory, it did not have a high sense of self-defense. Woo! Dai roared in a low voice. It motioned Little Hai to go first. Whoosh! In an instant, A dark shadow flashed by. Puff. Little Hai gnawed at the bull's neck with its sharp fangs, but its teeth only broke the skin and did not go deep into the flesh. Moo. The bull went crazy and started to shake its head. It saw a huge fist. Bang, bang, bang. Dai killed it directly with 3 punches. Whoa. Dai put the bull on its shoulder and then happily carried it back to the South Mountain. Silence then reigned over the site, but half an hour later, a man in a green robe with a sword came from upstream. Where's my black bull? Chapter 743, Breaking the Formation. They came and left quickly. In less than 20 minutes, Dai returned to the vicinity of Zhang Han's residence. At the edge of the jungle, Dai's eyes fell on a stone located on the right. Woo, 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 woo. Let's go there and roast the bull. Dai and Little Hai were familiar with this procedure. Little Hai quickly gathered some branches and Dai strung a big black bull on a large branch. After setting up the grill, there was a problem. Woo. Where is the fire? Oh. Whoosh. Little Hai ran over to the room where the security group members were staying and took a lighter out. Once ignited, the flames took some time to build up. Usually they used firestone in Mount New Moon, which helped them to set up the barbecue very quickly. Now, after they waited for more than 10 minutes, the fire was just starting to flicker slowly. Woo, 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 woo. Dai scratched its head. It's too slow. When will it be cooked? We still have to play with the young master later. Woo woo, woo woo woo. What can we do? Shall I call our master? Woo woo woo, woo woo woo. Our master is eating. Don't disturb him. Oh. The 2 guys were gesticulating and communicating very quickly. Tiny Tot was confused. It blinked its little eyes and looked at them for a long time, realizing that the 2 big brothers felt that the fire was a little weak. Flame. COO, COO. Tiny Tot began to blow, trying to make the fire bigger. After blowing a few times in vain, it flapped its own wings. Puff puff. Clatter. In an instant, Tiny Tot seemed to understand something. Although no one felt the movement of energy, the fire rose more than 10 meters after it flapped its wings. Whoa! Dai was startled. How dare the little thing scare me? Dai turned its head and suddenly realized that the fire was getting stronger. Oh, 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 hum. It patted Tiny Tot on its head happily and then made a gesture of praise. It suddenly found that its 3rd brother was so useful. It seemed that the 2 high powers of Mount New Moon would soon welcome a new member. Dai was very satisfied with the fire and the aroma of the roasting meat wafted out in less than a minute. Whoa, cool. It was a pity that there was no fragrant wood or any seasoning that they usually added. Even so, the aroma of the meat was enough to make Dai and Little Hai drool. COO. Tiny Tot wanted to drool with the 2 big brothers, so it spat out a little saliva and let it hang from its mouth. At the same time, it flapped its 2 wings hard. 5 minutes later, the whole black bull seemed to have been thoroughly roasted. Now its meat was crispy and fragrant. Whoa, let's begin. Dai directly pulled off a leg and threw it in front of Tiny Tot. The leg was a lot bigger than Tiny Tot. COO, COO. But Tiny Tot also had a big appetite. It did not hesitate to perch on the leg and began to eat happily. Dai could eat a lot. Of course, purely by weight, Little Hai ate the most, because every time it ate not only the meat, but the bones too. So a whole black bull was quickly devoured by the 3 of them and there were no remains left. Boom, boom. After dinner, Dai stood up and its bones creaked. If Zhang Han were here, he would have been amused by Dai, but would have let it do whatever it liked. After eating the black bull, Dai's blood and chi was strengthened and its power increased a lot. So did Little Hai, who made a breakthrough after eating and was almost at last stage now. Tiny Tot did not feel that way, since it was merely following the crowd. Now it was burping like Dai. The fire made by Tiny Tot burned away all the wood, except for the scorched stones. There was no trace that they had a barbecue. Woo, 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 woo. Dai waved its palm. Let's go and look around for a while. They walked slowly to the lawn. Near the dining hall, there was a big willow tree. When Dai sat down and was about to have a rest, it saw their master and his wife, young master and a group of people coming over. Woo! We can't sleep now. Dai clapped its buttocks and stood up. When he noticed the grease on Tiny Tot's body, it used its palm to wipe away the stains and then rubbed Tiny Tot against the lawn until it became a little cleaner. Then Dai pursed its mouth and glared at Tiny Tot. Third brother, you are so stupid that I have to serve you. Whoosh! While both Little Hai and Dai ran toward the group of people immediately, Tiny Tot followed behind slowly. Zhang Wangyu took a look at them and then looked at the dirty Tiny Tot. He waved his hand to dissipate the grease on Tiny Tot's body and said with a smile, "What do you think? How was the goose meat prepared for you?" Every sect would raise some low-grade spirit beasts to provide delicious meat, and the goose was one of them. Woo, woo 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 woo. Dai patted its chest with satisfaction and made a gesture of praise to Zhang Wangyu, as it grinned happily. Yummy, it's yummy. Ha ha ha, as long as it tastes good. Don't worry, you'll have it again tonight. Zhang Wangyu laughed. Whoa, whoa, ha ha ha. Dai burst out laughing. Tonight? That's great. Let's go and play. Meng Meng cheered and ran quickly on the lawn with her short legs. Mama is chasing you. With a smile, Xian ran after her. Zhang Li, Liang Hao, Zhao Feng and Liang Mengkai walked forward from the side. Dai and his brothers ran with them. Good. Zhang Wangyu smiled. It feels good to be a grandfather. Will you go to the treasure house with me later? In addition to those things, let's see if there is anything else we need. Then you can show me how to break the heaven-earth formation of Heavenly Knights sect. Otherwise I won't allow you to go to Wind Snow School. I won't go there since those things I mentioned are enough for me. 100 pieces of medium-grade crystal, more than 50 array flags with no elements, heaven-piercing hammer, misty yang flower and 10 wind wood. Heaven-piercing hammer was a divine weapon that could be used as the main object to break the formation, which was also called the Formation Eye. Coupled with medium-grade crystals and various kinds of array flags, Zhang Han could break the low-level heaven-earth formation. As for Misty Yang Flower, it could be activated and could perfectly integrate him into the clouds and mist. 10 Windwood could be used to protect him from the detection of soul sense. In fact, he didn't need it, but he decided to bring it with him to be on the safe side. After all, Wind Snow School was one of the top sects in the time. If a powerful man with extraordinary talent in soul sense sensed him, it would be difficult for him to escape. Zhang Guanyu raised his eyebrows and said, "Don't you want to have a look? There are a lot of treasures in the treasure house. They are enough." Zhang Han grinned, knowing that his father cared about him. He shook his head and replied, "Father, you'll know when you see it later. Heaven-earth formation at this level is useless to me." Well, I'll go get something first. Let's try it out later." Zhang Wangyu sighed helplessly, turned around and left for the mountain. Zhang Han looked at his father's back and smiled. He turned around and walked quickly toward the crowd. Noticing that Rong Jiali was still wearing her bamboo hat, Zhang Han sighed and said, "When I break through to the innateness stage, I will cure you and then I will kill King Zhenzi." Zhang Han had made some plans for what he would do next. Ever since he had a daughter, he felt that life was different. He was no longer the immortal cultivator who only cared about his own gains and losses in the cultivation world. Now he was always thinking about things as a father, a husband and a son. Sighing with emotion, Zhang Han approached Meng Meng and played with her for a while. Half an hour later, Zhang Guanyu came back and called Zhang Han to the lawn. "Meng Meng, I have to talk to Grandpa for a while. I'll be back soon." Zhang Han squatted and smiled at Meng Meng. "What? Papa, come back soon?" When Zhang Han had to go off for a short while only, Meng Meng would agree obediently. "Okay, give me a kiss." Zhang Han put his right cheek close to Meng Meng's lips. "Meow. Ha ha ha." Zhang Han grinned and looked at Xian, I'll go out for a while. Okay, go ahead. Xian smiled. Zhang Han raised his hand and gently touched her cheek, then turned to the back. At the edge of the lawn, there were not only Zhang Guangyu, but also Dong Chen, the Grand Elder, and another aged man with a pointed face. This is the first elder. He is also proficient in formation. Zhang Guangyu introduced. As soon as Zhang Guangyu finished speaking, the first elder snorted coldly. I thought it was a joke when young master told me about it. Is it true, young man? Although you are the son of young master, if you don't have the ability and you are only trying to make fun of others for no reason, I will teach you a lesson. Even a high-level master can't break the heaven-earth formation. How dare you? A grand master tried to do it, not to mention that it is the mountain protection array of Heavenly Knights sect. It was obvious that the first elder was really a little angry. This was because he had also participated in the making of the heaven-earth formation of Heavenly Knights sect and regarded it as a faith and treasure. Now Zhang Han's words annoyed him and he had to restrain himself from beating him up, for the sake of his young master. Ha ha ha. Hearing the first elder's words, Dong Chen laughed, which was rare. He found that he preferred to see Zhang Han being scolded and humiliated. This guy is always calm and arrogant. It's not a bad thing for him to be scolded. Dong Chen thought. Let's go. Zhang Guangyu looked at Han and handed him a space ring. Everything you need is in it. As long as you succeed, they will all be yours, including the first elder's 2 divine level array flags. Okay, I'll take them. Zhang Han took the space ring and scanned it with his soul sense. Besides having more than 150 pieces of medium-grade crystals, he found the heaven-piercing hammer, Misty Yang flower, 10 square wood and more than 60 array flags. They were all more than what he needed. His father liked to give him extra. Let's go. Zhang Han did not say anything more and took the space ring silently. They took a few steps outside and quickly flew to the edge of the sect. Young man, how will you break the array? The first elder took out a token and asked impatiently. You can operate the array any way you like, after I go out. Zhang Han replied. Ha ha ha, that's great. I can operate it freely, right? I really want to see if you can break the array in 1 year. The first elder sneered. It's not that I am looking down on you. You're too arrogant. I recognize your strength and you're pretty good among the young generation, but it's not appropriate to brag too much. Double dragon formation is invincible. When he heard what he said, Zhang Guangyu felt a little helpless and could not refute. He preferred to see the truth and wait for his son to do something beyond their imagination. But, could his son make it? Zhang Guangyu was not sure, because it was too inconceivable. Zhang Han raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at the first elder, who gave you the confidence. Whoosh. After saying that, Zhang Han moved and flew away from Heavenly Knights sect. The young man. The first elder looked at Zhang Guangyu and said angrily, if he can break the formation, I'll write my name upside down, take him as my teacher and even call him master and serve him. Chapter 744, You Cannot Leave. Zhang Han tilted his head slightly to look at him. When he heard what the first elder said, without saying anything, he quickly left the Heavenly Knights sect and disappeared into the mountain in the distance. At this moment, the first elder sneered, holding a token in his hand. Show him the power of the double dragon formation. Even a hair cannot come in, let alone a person. As soon as he finished speaking, the token in the first elder's hand lighted up all of a sudden, showing that he was connecting with the heaven-earth formation. Clatter. The river, more than 100 meters in width, which surrounded the mountains in the Heavenly Knights sect, suddenly bubbled up. The 2 dragons which were coiled around the whole Heavenly Knights sect glowed and their eyes shone like diamonds. Buzz. Suddenly, clouds of light mist began to envelop Heavenly Knights sect. The double dragon formation, as well as hundreds of formations inside and outside, were activated. Many people on the mountain, especially the disciples who were training in the preliminary camp, noticed that something strange was happening and became confused. What? Why is our mountain gate formation activated? Are the enemies coming? Now that the gate of the small world is open, the Wind Snow School must have strong support. Are they going to attack our sect? That's impossible, right? The war drums should have sounded on the mountain if the enemies from the Wind Snow School are launching an attack. What's going on? Alas, it's a pity that we are not disciples of the Eight Peaks and can't join the battle against the Wind Snow School. This isn't a battle but a war. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded in the training ground. Everyone turned their heads and saw Jiang Bing, the chief disciple, with an indifferent look, walking slowly to the stone platform ahead. There were over 50 people on the training ground, 90% of whom were men. They were the best among the last group of disciples. Chief Jiang is here. Chief Jiang is already at the God Realm peak stage, though he's only a few years older than us. We, on the contrary, are still at the Grand Master late stage. Alas, there is a wide gap between us. Many people were chatting with each other in the crowd. Jiang Bing's expression did not change even though he heard what they said. He slowly walked up to the stone platform and looked at the people coldly. Combats are different from wars. The war between our sect and the Wind Snow School has lasted for decades. Do you think that killing enemies is a way to get resources and improve cultivation? Ridiculous. How naive you are. What does war mean? Death. Do you think people of the Heavenly Knights sect will not die? The Heavenly Knights sect had a staff strength of tens of thousands of disciples several decades ago, but now, only 3,000 remain. I've seen my eldest brother, third brother, fifth brother, eighth brother, Uncle Long and Uncle Ma being killed on the battlefield. Men of the Wind Snow School aren't fools, they're indeed shrewd, so you cannot underestimate the enemy and must take the war seriously. When you become elites, your friends, masters and brothers may pass away, perhaps even you will also die. After giving that highly charged speech, Jiang Bing fell silent. Staring at the quiet training ground, he ordered, "Keep training, practice basic body movements, basic footwork and basic battle techniques. I'll test you personally in 2 hours. Those who can't meet the requirements will pay the fiddler." He stepped off the stone platform and out of the training ground. As he spoke, after jumping onto the roof, he looked at the faint mist in the distance and muttered in puzzlement, "Why is the sect formation activated? Is the First Elder strengthening it?" The First Elder had contributed a lot to the sect formation and once controlled the Double Dragon formation to prevent the enemy from attacking our sect. Undoubtedly, a high-intensive maintenance array needed to consume crystal stones. When all the crystal stones were used up, the Heaven-Earth formation would be broken in the face of ongoing attacks. Such attacks were launched by sheer brute force. The First Elder felt somewhat skeptical at this point. 2 minutes have passed. Did he disappear in the forest? How can he break the formation? Tackling it toughly, he won't break it in 5 to 10 years if he does so. First Elder, don't be so sure. Zhang Wangyu glanced at him and said, "My son is very powerful, at least, he knows our sect formation's name." "What is it?" The First Elder raised his eyebrows slightly. "Yin-Yang Double Dragon Heavenly Formation." "What?" His response caused the First Elder's eyebrows to unfurrow. The First Elder said with a smile, "Young master, don't fool me with such ridiculous news. I can stimulate your son's fighting spirit by exerting pressure on him. Actually, I want him to know the feeling of failure, otherwise, once such rumors spread, they will affect your reputation." The First Elder considered the news that the Heaven-Earth formation was about to be broken was definitely a joke. It was impossible for the Great Formation to be destroyed since it had resisted the attacks from the Wind Snow School for decades. "I think." Dong Chen, who had remained silent, also said at this time, "Maybe he masters moves that are conducive to breaking the formations. Although I know little about formations, I think the 100 formation image I saw on Mount New Moon is also somewhat mysterious. Perhaps he is able to break some formations, but it is impossible for him to break the one created by the Heavenly Knights sect." First Elder, he needs criticizing. Recently, I observed that he lacks upward mobility. He could have broken through the divine realm stage, but he did not make it yet. On the contrary, he accompanies his wife and daughter all day long. The land of warmth and tenderness is indeed a hero's grave. I don't think it's a big deal. If he focuses on pursuing martial arts, he might not have improved so fast. It's okay to have a rest. What is most important is that he is still young. Zhang Guanyu replied with a smile. He would not have made such a statement in the past. However, after staying on Mount New Moon for a few days and playing with Meng Meng, he began to long for such a carefree and comfortable lifestyle. Having fought for a long time, he also longed to lead a peaceful life. How old is he? The first elder asked. 27 years old. Fine, he is still a young man, considering that he's at the Grand Master peak and about to enter the divine realm. He is talented, but young master, you should not forget that Yanfei Yang, Uncle Dong's disciple, who is 28 years old, broke through to the Earth realm middle stage after cultivating for only more than 5 years. Your son isn't a patch on him, or even Wang Xiao and Jiang Bing, on age and strength. I'll ask them to compete with Zhang Han later and to show how many young martial artists are more powerful than him. The first elder responded. Let's talk about it later. Zhang Wangyu did not give a direct response. Instead, he looked at the forest in the mountains ahead. Why hasn't Zhang Han appeared yet? Logically speaking, one has to break the formation layer by layer beside the river surrounding the mountains. Is he waiting for the moment when I let down my guard? The first elder could not help saying, my spiritual sense mind trick, connecting with the double dragon formation, can cover the whole Heavenly Knights sect. In fact, I can even feel a mosquito, so he has no chance to break it, if he intends to break the formation by force. Dong Chen glanced at Zhang Guanyu and said, you'd better persuade him to give up. The heaven-earth formation set by the Wind-Snow School is too formidable to be broken. If a man wanted to break the formation with a heaven drilling cone, he would likely be discovered in the first instance by the guards or the disciples who were patrolling the area. This guy is a bit interesting. After waiting for a while, the first elder looked toward the front and said, why hasn't he showed up after 20 minutes? Is he wasting time? I don't think so. Dong Chen frowned slightly. If he doesn't appear in 10 minutes, I'll go and have a look. If he plays a trick on us, I'll ask Yanfei Yang to teach him a lesson. Zhang Wangyu froze for a moment and felt a little helpless. Uncle Dong and the first elder would definitely feel unhappy if Zhang Han was making fun of them. If so, he had indeed gone too far. Although Zhang Guanyu believed in him, he gradually became unsure as time went by. After all, he had only heard about Zhang Han's deeds but had never seen how he got these matters done. Humphrey, I'm so stupid to believe in you. The first elder snorted and said, I was asked to come over before figuring out the three flowers giant cauldron formation. Until now I have not felt any fluctuations in the whole Heavenly Knights sect. Now that he wants to break the formation and asks us to witness it, he should at least have taken the correct attitude. Now I truly suspect. What are you suspecting? Before the first elder finished his words, a calm voice rang out behind them all of a sudden. Boom. It was like a bolt from the blue, striking straight at the hearts of the three present. Dong Chen slowly turned his head in amazement and could not stop blinking. The first elder was totally in a daze and stunned. What happened? Zhang Wangyu only felt his heart beating faster. Really? When they turned their heads, they caught sight of Zhang Han, who looked like a grain more than 10 meters away. Then, Zhang Han approached them, holding a blue branch in his hand. This is the branch of the blue willow growing at the edge of the north side of the mountains. You should recognize it, right? Zhang Han thrust the branch forward casually, while speaking. Ouch. The first elder was so scared that he trembled all over. After he took the branch and checked it for a while, his face changed greatly. It's real. How did you do that? No, it's impossible. Dong Chen was also dumbfounded. He rubbed his face with both hands, shook his head and asked in a hoarse voice, while staring at Zhang Han, "Tell me, how did you do that? Did you use the diversionary tactic, or were you here all along?" The first elder's eyes widened. "No, no, I fully activated my formation but didn't feel any energy fluctuations. Even a mosquito couldn't fly in. How could you do that? I've told you that I have hundreds of ways to break the sect formation that would be regarded as a rare treasure by you." Zhang Han shook his head slightly. "I'm going to accompany my daughter if there's nothing else. Then I'll go to the Wind Snow School to check the situation." Zhang Han was about to turn to leave. "Wait, you cannot leave." The first elder moved quickly and grabbed Zhang Han's arm in great excitement. "You can't go anywhere today unless you tell me the secret." Zhang Han was unable to move because the first elder was a heaven state strong. "Therefore," he said helplessly, "you won't understand it by right of your current strength. Let me go." "No. Did you succeed in breaking the formation?" Why was he so clingy like a piece of sticky candy? If Meng Men did that, Zhang Han would definitely feel delighted, but he really detested the first elder. "Take your hands off me. What do you want to do?" Chapter 745, Dai's Fists. "Dad." Zhang Han glanced at Zhang Wenyu, finding that he was completely dumbfounded as well. He was overwhelmed by helplessness. "I'll tell you when I have a chance in the future, okay?" Zhang Han added. "No." The first elder did not listen to him at all. Fortunately, Dong Chen came to his senses quickly. After taking 5 deep breaths, he sighed and said, "Let him go. He won't tell me the truth once he leaves." The first elder answered stubbornly. He completely forgot about Dong Chen's status as the Grand Elder. Dong Chen gave a wry smile and then his expression became serious. He added, "He'll be staying at Heavenly Knight's sect for a month. First Elder, as a senior, you should exercise self-control and calm down." He understood the first elder's point of view because he was also feeling confused. The sect formation set by the Heavenly Knight's sect had actually been broken by this guy. Damn it, no one else would believe the news. Dong Chen became a little frantic. At this moment, his opinion of Zhang Han completely changed. What exactly is going on with this guy? Dong Chen was clear that it was impossible for Zhang Han to break the formation in the face of the first elder isolating the formation on full power even if he mastered some magic that could shift positions in an instant. The only possibility was that he quietly broke the formation and came in from the outside. Horrible, what a terrifying man. If the enemy grasped such extraordinary skills, they could slaughter all the disciples at night and then leave. Hiss. Dong Chen felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave at the thought of this. "Let him go." Seeing that the first elder was still holding Zhang Han's arm, Dong Chen raised his voice. Only then did the first elder let Zhang Han go. "Ha ha ha, good job, my son." Zhang Guanyu burst out laughing. Then, he approached Zhang Han and patted him on the shoulder. Seeing his behavior, Zhang Han shook his head slightly. It was not strange. By virtue of his cultivation, he certainly could make it. Moreover, he did not concentrate on studying array skills. As for those powerful martial artists in the cultivation world who specialized in array skills, they were capable of breaking the formation easily though they were only at the innateness stage. "Did you really break the formation from outside? Why didn't we feel any fluctuations?" The first elder calmed down and asked Zhang Han hankeringly. He could not figure it out at all. Zhang Han also realized that he would be trapped if he refused to tell him something. After pondering for a while, Zhang Han had a serious look and said, "Someone promised that his surname would be written upside down if I broke the formation." Buzz. The first elder froze and then he said in an embarrassed smile, "All right, my surname will be upside down in the future. His surname is Wang." Dong Chen reminded Zhang Han unconcernedly, "He always uses this to make fun of others." Hearing what he said, the first elder smirked. Since Zhang Wenyu found their conversation interesting, he stood aside and watched his son talking to them. "Oh." Zhang Han kept calm, nodded and said, "You also told me that as long as I broke the formation, you would." The first elder froze and hesitated. He glanced at Dong Chen, then looked at Zhang Guangyu and finally fixed his eyes on Zhang Han. 2 seconds later, he cupped his hands and said, "I'll do what I promised. Now that you broke the formation today, I'll take you as my master." The first elder was in high spirits as he spoke, for he thought that he had seized the opportunity to learn how to break the formation. But before he finished speaking, Zhang Han waved his hand. "It's hard to be my disciple." At this point, catching sight of Zhang Han's expression and moves, Dong Chen suddenly felt as if he was facing Zhang Shenwang. Their extraordinary aura and disdainful gazes were quite similar. "He's not an ordinary man." Dong Chen was somewhat startled. As for the first elder, he did not know what to say, so, "I'll simply tell you the method I used, that is, I injected my power into the formation and turned it into part of the formation. Only then could I enter the formation silently. I took advantage of the fickle formation to hide between heaven and earth. It can isolate and trick the spiritual sense mind so that others can't easily perceive me," Zhang Han explained. "I, therefore, took only 5 minutes to break the formation and was on the road the rest of time. Even so, you did not notice until I moved more than 10 meters nearer to you, which showed that you were bad at using your soul sense." He actually knows how to use the soul sense. Dong Chen's eyes narrowed and thought that this guy was undoubtedly extraordinary. The formation methods need to be cultivated step by step, so it's enough for you to learn this information. Knowing too much will not benefit your improvement. Besides, since you may not even fully understand the 100 formation image, you'd better go to Mount New Moon later. I once saw you operating the formation and think that you'll be able to comprehend the 100 formation image in a few days. Zhang Han added. Hearing what he said, the first elder was at a loss. Alas. He sighed all of a sudden. Although I failed to understand what you mean, I can tell that you've done something beyond my imagination, young lord. Anyway, I approve of you. You're right, the array methods should be improved step by step and I'll go to Mount New Moon later. Young master, Grand Master, I need to go first. After saying that, the first elder, who looked a little forlorn, turned to leave hurriedly. He must have been shattered. Dong Chen sighed with emotion. I think the first elder will now study the methods day and night. The next moment, Dong Chen's eyes lit up and he looked at Zhang Han. Can you bring other people into the formation with this skill? If possible, we'll defeat the Wind Snow School. Zhang Guangyu continued, even if you can bring Uncle Dong alone, the Wind Snow School will be seriously damaged. Both Dong Chen's and Zhang Wengyu's eyes brightened as they were chatting. If it worked, this skill would be a big trump card of the Heavenly Knights sect. You do think too much. However, Zhang Han directly threw cold water on his plans and said, I cannot bring in others. Even if I can, he needs to cooperate with me. If he makes any noise and is caught by the formation, we'll definitely be at risk. You can't bring others with you. Dong Chen's face changed slightly because one would die if he was trapped in the enemy's formation. All right. Dong Chen froze for a while and said, well, it doesn't matter that you can't bring others with you. My Heavenly Knights sect will spare no efforts to help you break through the Divine Realm stage, the Earth Realm stage and the Heaven Realm stage. I believe that you absolutely can break through to the innateness stage within 10 years by virtue of your talent. You're indeed a trump card to defeat the Wind Snow School. As Dong Chen spoke, the aura surrounding him rose. In fact, the aura emitted by a person at the Heaven Peak stage was very oppressive. Dong Chen was truly hopeful this time. Formidable as he was under too much pressure when it came to facing the Wind Snow School. The disciples at the Heaven Realm stage of the Wind Snow School were more powerful than those of the Heavenly Knights sect. They were so powerful and cultivated many new talents. He was indeed afraid that he could not hold on before Jiang Shenwang returned. If so, he would feel very guilty. Fortunately, I see daylight. After thinking for a while, Dong Chen smiled at Zhang Han and nodded to Zhang Guangyu with great satisfaction. He wanted to tell him that he had given birth to an outstanding boy. Then, Dong Chen flew up the mountain. Ha ha ha. Zhang Wenyu felt very comfortable and repeatedly said, "Son, you must know that Uncle Dong hasn't laughed that much for many years. You do bring credit to me and have done a good job. You'll know my real strength later." Zhang Han smiled. He was apparently in a good mood on account of Zhang Wenyu's smile. "Let's go back and see your daughter, my dear granddaughter." Zhang Wenyu laughed and caught up with Zhang Han and walked beside him. They did not walk hurriedly, but chatted all the way to their own residence. It only took them less than an hour to reach the destination. "Meng Meng." Zhang Han called to her from a distance. He was aware that the little princess would run happily over to him now, as expected. "Papa." Meng Meng let out a cry when she saw Zhang Han. She moved her legs quickly and ran over. Then, Zhang Han held her in his arms and kissed her several times. Playing with his family here, he felt that he was far away from the hustle and bustle of the city, enjoying a quiet and fulfilling time. As darkness fell, Zhang Wenyu asked the servants to prepare dinner. The food was taken from the kitchen and placed in the living room. After visiting some areas in the Heavenly Knights sect in the afternoon, Wang Zanping and Chen Qingqing thought that the sect was so large as disciples who had reached the Divine Realm stage could be seen everywhere. Once the gate of the small world opened, those at the Divine Realm stage were very common, while those at the Earth Realm stage became the backbone of martial artists. Only those at the Heaven Realm stage possessed high-end combat power. Moreover, once people reached the Heaven Peak stage, they were acknowledged as big shots since they were unlikely to be killed. Like Dong Chen, the Grand Elder of the Heavenly Knights sect, he was well known all over the world. During this period, Zhang Wenyu also asked Wang Xia to hand 2 big geese to Dai and Little Hai at the edge of the lawn. "Come on, here is your dinner." Wang Xia smiled and ignored Tiny Tot, for he deemed that it could only eat a goose leg at most. However, it was able to eat up all of the azure bull's legs. "Woo, woo, woo." Dai patted its chest to express its gratitude, but it rolled its eyes at the same time. After Wang Xia left, Dai opened its big mouth and ate up the 2 geese within 2 bites. Then, it waved its hand. "Woo, woo, woo. Let's go, brothers. COO, COO. After Tiny Tot flapped its wings, Dai picked it up and put it on its shoulder, quickly sneaking to the back hill with Little Hai. They received the same message, but this time, they went upstream in a certain direction and saw a small pool, beside which a white-haired bear was eating a fish. "Woo." Dai took a deep breath and gestured to Little Hai. "It's time to attack it." In the blink of an eye, Little Hai's gaze turned savage. It crouched and carefully approached the bear from the side wing. The reason why Little Hai was so alert was because the bear was hard to deal with. It was even stronger than Little Hai and was close to the Grand Master Peak. However, it was not afraid. Whoosh! Little Hai moved in an instant, as fast as lightning, and turned into a black shadow, frightening the white-haired bear. It had no time to react before a shadow approached it and bit its neck. It was in a lot of pain. However, the white-haired bear's skin was so resilient that Little Hai only tore the surface and its teeth was stuck in its taut muscles. Whoa! The white-haired dog bear became enraged and swung out at Little Hai. A loud thud sounded. Little Hai was sent flying through the air. Fortunately, Little Hai had a good physique, so he only sustained minor injuries and bled slightly. Whoa! The white-haired bear stood up with a fierce gaze and opened its big mouth. It revealed its sharp claws, which were like short daggers, and that was its main weapon for fighting. Its deep roars and violent aura showed that it was going to tear the enemy into pieces. However, it suddenly saw a shadow looming over it at the next moment. The shadow grew increasingly larger. What was it? The white-haired bear turned its head slowly. He saw a chimpanzee, more than 10 meters tall and several times bigger than a 2-meter-high bear, standing in front of it. Whoa! Dai shouted all of a sudden, jumped and wrestled the white-haired bear to the ground. In the meantime, its huge fists rained blows upon the bear. Bang! 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 The azure bull was beaten to death by Dai within 3 punches at noon, but it took 11 punches to kill the white bear. After that, Dai picked up the wild bear, glanced at Little Hai and shook its head slightly. Whoa, let's go. Let's go and eat. Damn it, I must kill you since you've hurt my little brother. So, Dai and Little Hai walked forward, followed by Tiny Tot, who had fallen to the ground and was running behind to keep up with them. Half an hour after they left, 2 young men walked over. They chatted while walking. Have you heard that Lu Biao's azure bull is missing? Ha, this guy's taming skills are so bad that he even lost his spirit beast. That's right. I think he will go to the Beast Mountain again in a few days to catch another spirit beast. Senior brother, I heard that your spirit beast has reached the Grandmaster Peak. Yes, the spirit beast named Dabai captured by me last time is really fierce and shows a great aptitude. It has broken through to a higher stage yesterday and will be more powerful when it reaches the Divine Realm stage. I'll show you how awesome it is later. When they reached the edge of the pool, the tall man shouted, Dabai, come here. 5 seconds later, no beast responded. Dabai? Dabai, come out. What, isn't it here? That's impossible. Where's Dabai? Damn it, did it escape as well? COO. At this moment, in the woods in the depths of the lawn where Zhang Han's residence was, flames started burning as Tiny Tot flapped its wings with all of his strength, which thoroughly brazed the bear. Whoa! Dai pulled off another thigh for Tiny Tot but gave Little Hai more. After all, it was injured. Woo. They began to eat, pouncing on the bear paw with happiness. Tiny Tot nibbled at the meat obediently. More than 20 minutes later, after the last bone was eaten by Little Hai, all its wounds were healed. The faint sound of flowing water rang out from Dai's body. Its chi blood surged wildly and even the drop of blood that he had not absorbed was still burning. If Zhang Han saw what was happening, he would have guessed that Dai was about to make a breakthrough. Woo! Dai opened its mouth and exhaled. Why am I feeling so hot? However, it could also feel that its power seemed to be increasing again. Woo. Dai thought of something and gesticulated to Tiny Tot. After a long while, Tiny Tot understood what he meant. It seemed that its second brother was a little weak and needed some gems because of its wounds. Tiny Tot spat out a gem. The gem, crystal blue and beautiful, was a 5th stage spirit treasure. Little Hai did not mind kissing it indirectly, so it swallowed the gem in one gulp. Clatter, clatter, clatter. A burst of sound like exploding firecrackers rang out. Little Hai was promoted to a higher stage in this way and its aura became increasingly stronger. It seemed that it would reach the Grandmaster Peak soon. Woo. The two of them were showing their gratitude to Tiny Tot. COO. The little guy did not understand, but integrated into the small group, both rejoicingly and thoroughly. The 2 high powers turned into the 3 high powers. Chapter 746, Entering the Wind Snow School once again. The 3 of them sauntered over to the willow in front of the lawn. Wang came up from the mountain and happened to see them at this point, so he walked over to them. What do you think? Did you enjoy your meal? Wang asked with a smile. Woo. Dai spared his feelings and gave him a thumbs up. That tasted great. Ha. Wang chuckled and said, I'm going to catch a few higher-level spirit beasts for you in a few days. Those as powerful as Chi Strength Master are more delicious. Woo. Dai shook its head repeatedly. No, we can catch the prey ourselves and their meat is more palatable than what you said. Ha. Wang burst into laughter, feeling Dai very amusing. He thought that they were afraid of something, so he explained, don't worry, ordinary spirit beasts, without spiritual intelligence, cannot reach the Divine Realm stage. As for those with spiritual intelligence, they will not be eaten by ordinary disciples of sects. The spirit beasts with spiritual intelligence are qualified to be trained by martial artists, which would help their masters cultivate. Certainly, these martial artists needed to learn the beast commanding skills. For instance, the beginner at the command beast peak will always capture some spiritual beasts at the Grand Master stage, to practice his skills. After being promoted to the Divine Realm stage and developing spiritual intelligence, they could make better use of martial arts. Woo, 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 woo. The beasts with spiritual intelligence might taste just as good. Wang Xiao could not figure out what it meant and thought the chimpanzee was replying to him. He, therefore, waved his hand and said, "All right, I'll bring you some delicious food in a few days, see you." After saying that, Wang Xiao flew quickly to the mountain. Hearing what he said, Dai scratched its head helplessly. "What a silly boy, we told you that we can catch it by ourselves, why does he persist in doing that?" Dai's thoughts originated from the innate nature of the beast race. The law of the jungle was the wisdom of the beast race. They had to fight against not only the enemies in other areas, such as the human race, but also the ones much stronger than them. The strong spirit beast would eat the weak, which meant that they would not stay together in peace, unless all the spirit beasts were granivores. Originally, chimpanzees seldom ate meat, but Dai, Little Cursed Rock generally did not eat meat, but it was greatly influenced by Dai and Little Hai and enjoyed gnawing on bones. After Wang Xiao left, no one else disturbed them. Dai, therefore, lay under the willow tree and started snoring within 1 minute. Little Hai lay beside it and slowly fell asleep. Its stomach and claws were on the ground so that it could move immediately if something urgent happened. Tiny Tot had the same posture as Dai, lying on Dai's belly and falling asleep. They slept quite freely. Meng Meng was also ready to take a rest. The size of the bedroom in the big house was good and new beddings were placed on the wooden bed. However, the bed was not as comfortable as that in the mansion on Mount New Moon, for Zhang Han had the room specially decorated with a meticulous design. However, Meng Meng was satisfied with the size of the big wooden bed. The three of them could sleep on it together, so she did not have to awaken in her small bed when she opened her eyes in the morning. I don't like small beds." Xian patted Meng Meng's little butt as she lay on the quilt. "Put on your pajamas." After putting on her pajamas, Xian and Meng Meng lay in bed, leaving a space in the middle for Zhang Han. "Papa, come to bed quickly and tell us a story." "Here I am." Zhang Han quickly took off his coat and went to bed, wearing only his boxers. "Ahem, I have to tell you something before I tell the story." Zhang Han sat with his arms around his wife and his daughter, looked at Meng Meng and said, "I have to go somewhere tomorrow during the day and will come back before dark." "Huh? Where are you going?" Meng Meng was stunned, her expression turning serious. "I'm going to deal with something urgent. You can play with Mom, Dai and your other friends here." Zhang Han negotiated with her. "Papa, why are you going out again?" Meng Meng said as she pouted. "I have something to do with your grandpa." Meng Meng eventually nodded and agreed after a long time. So, after breakfast the next day, Meng Meng waved to Zhang Han and said, "Papa, come back as soon as possible." "Okay." Zhang Han smiled at Xian and Meng Meng, then turned around and left with Zhang Guangyu. He had to complete his task even though he wanted to accompany Meng Meng. Zhang Han sighed as he walked. Their childhood only lasts for a few years. Alas, I will concentrate on accompanying her after I break through to the innateness stage. "Okay, I support you." Zhang Guangyu laughed. "Kids won't be willing to stay with their fathers when they grow up. Just like you and Lilai, you're happy to go out with your friends." Zhang Han froze for a while because this was really the case. After pondering for a while, he said, "I should spend more time with her during this period. You can do whatever you want to and I'll always be with you." Zhang Guangyu did not say much. He looked at the figure ahead and said, "Uncle Dong and I will go with you this time." "I see." While talking, the two of them approached Dong Chen. "Let's go." Dong Chen nodded and took the lead in flying up into the sky. After flying for nearly 3 hours, they reached the outskirts of the Wind Snow School. Thereafter, they flew forward cautiously. They passed through a region and finally got to the edge of the jungle behind the Wind Snow School. Be careful. Dong Chen glanced at Zhang Han and reminded him, the Wind Snow School is right in front of us. It'll take you more than half an hour to get to the main mount of the Wind Snow School, but we cannot go forward. It's easy for us to be discovered since there are plenty of hidden formations on the periphery. You can just wait here. As Zhang Han waved his right hand with a smile, 18 medium-grade crystals appeared, followed by 9 formation flags, misty yang flowers and 10 square wood that were all connected by strings. This was a removable formation. Dong Chen's eyes narrowed slightly. Meanwhile, Zhang Han slowly faded and was totally out of sight. Only then did Zhang Guangyu and he realize that they could not detect him even with their soul senses. How awesome he is! Only when he saw what happened in person did he feel amazed again. Zhang Han had truly mastered extraordinary methods. Since they did not know where Zhang Han was, they could only wait for him. Surrounded by the formation, Zhang Han moved at a relatively high speed from the outermost area of the Wind Snow School. When he reached the main mount, he rose into the air and kept rising. He could perceive the energy released by the mountain protection ray of the Wind Snow School flowing, which completely covered all the dark clouds above. But these obstacles could not put off Zhang Han, who cherished a large number of treasures. The sky drilling cone appeared as the formation eye and the formation beside Zhang Han kept changing, merging with the Wind Snow School's mountain protecting formation. Zhang Han was moving in it. A few minutes later, he broke out of the formation. He appeared in the clouds above. Crack! Suddenly, a flash of lightning appeared, which stunned Zhang Han. He had nearly been hit by it. However, the lightning seemed to contain great energy. Zhang Han walked forward carefully and eventually arrived at the top of the main mount of the Wind Snow School. Once he looked down, he could see the layout of the building. In the middle of the mansion was a thunderstone. Sky Dragon from the Wind Snow School, the first elder from the main sect, as well as 16 or 17 other men were all there. More than a dozen people at the back were refining various kinds of spirit treasures with surging auras and injecting the energy into the thunderstone. Sky Dragon from the Wind Snow School in Cultivation World, also known as Zhan, said with great excitement, I'll refine the lightning energy to the extreme within a day, which will definitely enable my battle axe to be upgraded to the 6th stage. At that time, I'll cut Dong Chen's head off in person. Such energy may not be enough. The first elder of the main sect raised his eyebrows and said while looking at the dark clouds containing surging energy in the sky, do not act rashly if there is insufficient energy. You should refine the battle axe step by step and it will likely be upgraded to the 6th stage by right of its excellent quality. Later, I'll go back to the main sect and bring a batch of spirit treasures. If you succeed, you'll become the first general under the command of the Wind Snow School and be the first person to kill the experts at the Heaven Peak stage. As he spoke, the first elder looked at Zhan from the corners of his eyes. Hiss. He felt a chill on his back in an instant and quickly bowed to him and said, First Elder, you rank first in the Wind Snow School. If I succeed in upgrading the battle axe to the 6th stage, I'm willing to offer it to you. Humans were all selfish and everyone wanted a 6th stage spirit treasure which had an extraordinary energy. Who wouldn't covet it? As Sky Dragon and the rising star of the Wind Snow School, he left his lifeblood and a wisp of soul in the main sect and no one knew that it harbored a tracking function. The first elder would be seriously injured if he performed his skills. However, if he lost his top strength, he would absolutely be no match for the first elder. I need to take the long-term view. Zhan was aware that he had to be loyal to the first elder. At the very least, he could not openly offend him before his battle axe was upgraded. Not only did he want to become the Sky Dragon in Cultivation World, but he also intended to replace the first elder, or to become a supreme being after suppressing him. However, the first elder was so cunning that no one knew what he was thinking, as he always kept a bland countenance. I'm not good at using the battle axe. If you succeed this time, you'll go down in history. If you manage to hurt the Heavenly Knights sect seriously, you'll be the second elder of the main sect of the Wind Snow School. Besides, I'll open another hall, named Zhan Hall, for you and give you any resources as well as disciples if you want. The first elder said calmly. His words made Zhan San's heart skip a beat. If the first elder greased his palm rather than ask for his battle axe, he would accept all the benefits. But Zhan San was still afraid that he would play a trick on him. After thinking for a while, Zhan San bowed and replied, "Thank you very much, First Elder. You're welcome." The First Elder waved his hand gently. A wisp of the sect leader's spirit mind floated back a few days ago, and I got a message that he is expected to return to the Kunlun immortal world within 10 years. The spirit treasure will be upgraded to a higher level and you'll break through the Heaven Peak stage. If the sect leader comes back and sees the contributions you've made, he probably will take you to the Kunlun immortal world. I hope you can make good use of this precious opportunity. I'll definitely do my best for the Wind Snow School. He was a little excited, but he felt surprised and uncertain at the same time. Did the sect leader really send him a message? Did the Kunlun immortal world really exist? You guys stay here, I need to go back. The first elder said to the dozen or so people, then he moved and flew away. At this moment, Zhang Han felt that he had gleaned enough information. However, he was afraid that he would meet the first elder of the main sect. Therefore, he continued to stay and observe after pondering for a while. Feeling the energy flowing through the medium-grade crystals, he found that they were indeed powerful. 18 medium-grade crystals were equivalent to 1,800 low-grade crystals. They were undoubtedly of extremely high value. Chapter 747, Taking the Blame. After the Grand Elder of Wind Snow School left, Zhan San's face was expressionless and he fixed his eyes on the weapon hanging above the Thunderstone. The silver-white battle axe was about 1.5 meters high and 1 meter wide, and it exuded a strong aura. Because it was made of excellent materials, it was a spirit treasure at the peak of the 5th stage. As such, it would likely be upgraded in this way. It's a pity that you met me. Zhang Han shook his head slightly and, controlling the formation, retreated. The next moment, he reached the edge of the main mount of the Wind Snow School, entered the formation slowly and then left. He flew toward Zhang Guangyu and Dong Chen, all the while keeping himself hidden. As he approached them, the two men were standing beneath a tree and talking in whispers. Almost half an hour has passed, but nothing happened. He should have hidden himself very well. It's a pity that such a method cannot be popularized, although it's really awesome. Dong Chen shook his head slightly. If Zhang Han could bring him into the formation, he was sure that he was able to destroy 4 of the Wind Snow Schools in the 5 worldlets in less than a few times before he left. That's right. Considering that my son has incomparable opportunities, it's understandable that he has grasped some incredible skills. Zhang Guangyu could not help smiling. Now I believe what you said. Dong Chen opened his mouth and then sighed while shaking his head. There is always someone better than me. Talented as Zhang Han is, he needs to grow up. Currently, as a Divine Realm Master who is about to reach the Earth Realm stage, he's still not strong enough. Only when he breaks through to the Heaven Realm stage can he undertake all the tasks alone. If we kept offering such resources to him, I'm afraid that the other elders and the chief disciples will. Zhang Guangyu hesitated. As the young master of his sect, he could take advantage of his position to give Zhang Han precious treasures. However, he would also be denounced if he provided his son with too many resources. Only when people were united would the sect become powerful. On the contrary, the sect would be on the decline sooner or later. No one should profit from another's toil. So, I'm going to ask Jiang Bing and the other masters to fight against him a few times. At that time, he'll know how to improve himself. Talented as he is, all his efforts will be futile if he sits around every day. Dong Chen snorted. He approved of Zhang Han, but strength was always the fundamental element. You actually were a weak man, and at a word from him, A lot of his disciples would merge to have a battle with him. Zhang Han's face darkened when he heard what they said from where he was. Are they secretly going to ask someone to beat me up? I initially did not want to pay any attention to them. Now that you conceived such an idea, I need to teach those guys a lesson. After concealing the formation, Zhang Han slowly appeared. Zhang Guanyu and Dong Chen saw Zhang Han in an instant and came closer to him. How's it going? Zhang Guanyu asked. Is there a problem? No, they were not able to spot me. Zhang Han shook his head slightly and said, let's go back first, we have to come back tomorrow. They then retreated slowly. After leaving the territory of the Wind Snow School, they rose into the air and flew toward the Heavenly Knights sect at a high speed. What's going on inside the formation? Dong Chen asked. It's easy to get the details. There are about 20 martial artists at the Heaven Realm stage, who are all trying their best to refine the treasures. The Sky Dragon's battle axe is likely to be upgraded to the 6th stage, suppressing the divine weapons. If he succeeds in refining it, he may be capable of killing those at the same stage as him. Zhang Han answered slowly. What did you say? Dong Chen's pupils shrank. Can they really refine a treasure beyond the divine weapons? Even Zhang Guanyu was dumbfounded. The success rate should exceed 70%, but it still depends on their refining methods. If it were me, I would definitely succeed, because the battle axe is made of 6th stage materials. Zhang Han sighed softly. Those spirit treasures at the 6th stage or above were counted as backbone treasures. Zhang Han sighed because he considered that the person who refined the battle axe was wantonly destroying the treasures. Such a material of excellent quality was wasted. However, what they did benefited him. The thunderbolts condensed by the spirit treasures supplied by the Wind Snow School would definitely help improve his thunderclouds. After all, they were not ordinary thunderbolts. Moreover, Zhang Han could even absorb the ordinary thunderbolts by right of his T-wood thunder, but the lower the stage the thunderbolts were at, the less effective it was for Zhang Han. They won't succeed. Zhang Han shook his head slightly. The energy is just suitable for my cultivation. Dong Chen was stunned. Ha ha ha, it's preordained. He suddenly burst out laughing and had not been so happy for many years. Although the Wind Snow School had made sound preparations, all their fruits were falling into Zhang Han's hand. It was so pleasant. Meanwhile, as their relationship was enhanced, Dong Chen increasingly believed that Zhang Han would be able to break the deadlock between the Heavenly Knights sect and the Wind Snow School. After returning to the Heavenly Knights sect, Zhang Han went back to his residence quickly and played happily with Meng Meng and Ziyan on the lawn. At this moment, he put all thoughts of his cultivation aside. It was his attitude that made Dong Chen feel a little angry. You'll be tortured once you reach the Divine Realm stage. Dong Chen had already decided to ask someone to teach him after he made a breakthrough. He deemed that any of the top 30 elite disciples could give Zhang Han a hell of a licking, but considering that they were mismatched, he planned to carry out this plan only after Zhang Han made a breakthrough. After thinking for a while, Dong Chen called several elders and some peak masters and gave an order. This year's sect competition will begin in half a month. Half a month later, that is, the competition will be brought forward by 1 month. Currently, many disciples are preparing to break through to a higher stage and can't control their strength even if they're promoted. Isn't it too early? A peak master said as he frowned. The other people present also had the same thoughts. Dong Chen, however, always stood by his word, so he responded directly, it's not early, the competition will start among outer disciples and I'll give them a few days to rest and reorganize. As soon as the order was given, all the people could only obey it. In their view, it would not make a big difference even if the competition had been brought forward, because sometimes they had no time to make preparations for breakthroughs. In fact, many masters broke through before battles and only the fittest would survive from the natural selection. It was time to see the level of the new disciples. Then, a thin man who was 1.7 meters tall, frowned and said, Grand Elder, 3 spirit beasts have gone missing on the Command Beast Peak in the past 2 days, one at the Grandmaster middle stage, one at the Grandmaster late stage, while the other was at the Grandmaster peak. I wonder if the other peak masters have seen them before. How did the spirit beasts go missing? In the blink of an eye, all the other peak masters were slightly stunned. The next moment, 2 of them burst into laughter, while several of them shook their heads repeatedly. They should still be somewhere on the mountain. 3 spirit beasts have gone missing. It seems that the last batch of disciples of the Command Beast Peak are quite weak. I did not see any spirit beasts. Let me ask the others after I return to my sect. These superiors were somewhat puzzled. How did the spirit beasts get lost? It was indeed weird. However, losing 3 spirit beasts was not a big deal. Only Grand Elder Dong Chen narrowed his eyes and pondered for a while, ruling out the possibilities in succession and finally reaching a conclusion. Did it do this? It was convincible that the ancient cursed rock could eat a few spirit beasts at will. However, Dong Chen was not sure. He kept thinking about what had happened in the past few days. In the end, when Zhang Han had dinner with his family at night, Dai and its brothers also set out on a journey. They were familiar with the route and ran to the back hill joyously. It's you guys. Dong Chen hid his body in midair, seemingly to have caught the culprits. He had thought that Tiny Tot was the one who ate them. Unexpectedly, the 2 beasts in front of him were the chief culprits. Oh, why is there no fluctuation in this battle since the 2 of them fought against a spirit beast at the Grandmaster Peak? Are the disciples of the Command Beast Peak so reckless? Dong Chen was somewhat skeptical. After all, Dai, the strongest among the 3, was only at the Grandmaster Peak. But what happened next startled him. Whoosh! Little Hai attacked its opponent at an extremely high speed and bit its neck, totally rendering it helpless. Dai turned into a 10-meter-tall giant and pressed the prey on the ground, punching it a dozen times before ending the battle. Then it swaggered back with the prize in its hand. Such a high speed, such a strong power. Interesting. After they left, Dong Chen dropped to the ground. The 2 beasts fought beside the creek and produced powerful fluctuations, but no one could track the signs of the battle. It's quite intelligent. Dong Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. After the battle, Tiny Tot gently flapped his wings and peace was finally restored in this place. They even knew how to clean up the battlefield. Great. Who is it? 3 figures came quickly from the side all of a sudden. After catching sight of Dong Chen, they quickly greeted him. Nice to meet you, Grand Elder. Well, where's my spirit beast? Suddenly, a surprised voice rang out. Among the 3 of them, the man standing in the middle had a puzzled look. Grand Elder, we've lost quite a few spirit beasts and have been on patrol recently. I just walked my spirit beast and let it drink water here. How did it disappear? Did you see it? Yes. Dong Chen nodded and stayed calm. He pointed toward the downstream and said, it ran over there. Thank you, First Elder. You're welcome. They did not notice the embarrassment in Dong Chen's eyes. What a sin. He actually managed to fool the youngest disciple in his sect. After pondering for a while, he said, while putting on a kind expression, you should cultivate hard and try your best to be a credit to the Command Beast Peak during the forthcoming martial arts contests. After saying that, Dong Chen left directly. The 3 of them thanked him repeatedly and then became curious. Why was Grand Elder here? Is he investigating the case of the missing spirit beasts as well? Possibly. 2 hours later, they walked down the river in confusion. Did First Elder steal the spirit beasts? It seemed that the person who was the prime suspect had made an appearance. However, Dong Chen did not think too much, but rose into the air to observe Dai and its companions. Tiny Tot made a fire and the meat was roasted in just a few minutes. Then, it began to nibble on one of the prey's thighs. Dong Chen's mouth quivered when he saw what was happening. I need to go to the Beast Mountain. He truly wanted to cultivate Tiny Tot to be a mountain protecting divine beast because it was to his liking. Therefore, He allowed it to eat plenty of spirit beasts. Dai and his two brothers fell asleep under the willow in the shadow of night. Zhang Han told Meng Meng that he had to go out again the next day. The situation was similar to last night's. After coaxing her for a while, the little girl reluctantly agreed. At 8 o'clock the next morning, Zhang Han, Zhang Guangyu and Dong Chen went to the wind-snow school again. Both Zhang Guangyu and Dong Chen thought that the wind-snow school would suffer a huge loss if they succeeded. Chapter 748, Retiring After Winning Merit. Once again, they came to the forest located at the outskirts behind wind-snow school. They were very experienced. This was a safe area, some distance from wind-snow school. Dong Chen only said, "Be careful, do not be in a rush and take your safety seriously. If something goes wrong and you are able to run away from the mountain protection ray of wind-snow school, we will be able to save you, but if you can't get out, there is nothing we can do about it. Son, Dad believes in you." Zhang Wangyu patted Zhang Han on the shoulder with a smile, even though he was still worried. Although there was no problem for him to go in, Zhang Han still wanted to cultivate, otherwise his chi would be sensed by the first elder of wind-snow school. "I'm going in, I'll be back in 1 to 5 hours. Zhang Han waved his hand to create a formation. This was a real battle and it was necessary to absorb energy and prevent fluctuations. Zhang Han formed a new array in the original one with his set of cards and gradually disappeared. He entered wind-snow school through the formation without causing any fluctuation. But when he came to the dark clouds, Zhang Han sensed a strong chi, which surrounded the clouds. When he looked closely at this dark area, he could see countless tiny lightning flashes in the clouds. Not enough. Zhang Han took a look and could immediately assess the energy situation in the dark cloud. He was quite close to it and could feel it completely. He looked down from the edge of the cloud. There were more people there. There were more than 30 people. Zhang Han did not use his soul sense, but he made a guess. There were only those people from before who were at Heaven Realm and the others were about at Earth Realm. These people were collectively controlling an array, refining many divine objects and holy objects, echoing with the dark clouds in the sky, forming an array communicating with Thunderstone and finally gathering energy for the battle eeks. Through the continuous refining of lightning strikes, the impurities would be removed and its level would be fundamentally improved. There are 5 divine objects and 15 holy objects. It seems that they are using more treasures in their first attempt. The foundation of wind-snow school is very good. Zhang Han took a look and knew that when they finished refining these, they would attract lightning. Zhang Han hid himself at the edge quietly. At the top of the mountain, Zhan San looked at his axe with excitement. He had been preparing for this moment for 10 years. 10 years. He had already known about this method and had been preparing all kinds of materials, but he did not want to disturb the Grand Elder of Wind-Snow School and the others, fearing that his achievements would be taken away by them. However, after the world lit was closed, Heavenly Knight sect came across aggressively and beat up Wind-Snow School. It was a horrible scene. He did not have much resources, so he could only turn to the First Elder for help. The price he had to pay was that he very likely had to give up the position of sect chief and serve Wind-Snow School all his life. He really did not want to be inferior to the First Elder. Normally, if he had made great achievements, he could exchange his blood and a wisp of his soul for their help. Now, there was no hope and they would not let him go. But, the 6th level, I'm still at the top of Wind-Snow School. While Zhan San's eyes glowed with anticipation, the First Elder beside him remained silent and said nothing. Half an hour later, the last holy fruit was refined into a mist and gathered in the array. Start. The First Elder said lightly. Boom. The shining array was activated by more than 10 people and a very complicated ancient character floated above it. Only Zhang Han knew the exact meaning of this character, but the First Elder and the others knew that this array could gather energy into the lightning. Is this the Mara seal, a small move to transmit energy? Zhang Han looked at it for a while and began to make a gesture to cast spell with his hands. The cards around him kept changing. At the same time, another 5 medium-grade crystals appeared and the magic array around his body had changed. The mysterious and profound aura enveloped him and the rays of light seemed to form a whirlpool, which seemed to absorb the energy from the outside world. Even the small lightning flashes that covered an area of more than 10 meters around started to tremble. The inner part of the array changed immensely, but the outer part of the array was as motionless as a mountain, isolated from everything. The first elder and the others were not totally on their guard, because they were in their main mount. Clatter. Accompanied by the glowing marks. The overwhelming energy swept into the air. Crack. Suddenly, a lightning bolt about 1,000 feet long, flashed. It seemed to have opened a chapter. It's finally about to begin. Zhang Han looked excited. He had been looking forward to this moment for many years. Thunderstone. Buzz. In an instant, Thunderstone emitted a faint light and the lightning in the air began to grow at a violent speed. The small lightning hidden in the dark cloud gradually grew larger and each lightning had a majestic chi. Boom, 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 boom. In the eyes of Zhang Han and others, the lightning in the dark clouds seemed to have increased at a crazy speed. 1, 10, 50, 100, 300, 700, 1000, until 1700. The lightning crackled violently as if it was going to destroy the world. It was a frightening sight to behold. The people of Wind Snow School were a little nervous and excited. Hiss, puff. Zhang Han took a deep breath and said, "Success or failure depends on this move. It will work." The first elder replied calmly since he knew a lot, judging from the energy above. He knew that even if it was not a 6th level treasure, it would be very close to that level. Thunder. Zhang Han was about to attract the lightning to refine the axe. All of a sudden, he saw that the lightning in the air had turned into a regular shape, like a semicircle of silk threads, condensing together and finally turning into a huge circle, which seemed to be constantly rotating. "What's going on?" The first elder frowned and said, "There are 100 thunderbolts missing. How could this be possible?" Zhang Han's expression froze and he wanted to say something. The first elder said, "Another 100 is missing. Is there something wrong with the array? It shouldn't be." While he analyzed the situation, Zhang Han glanced specifically at the array and at the more than 10 people who were maintaining it. They were also confused. Even the first elder doesn't understand it. How can we understand it? 300. The number of thunderbolts had dropped to 1,400. Zhang Han could not sit still anymore since his chi started surging. He drew a circle with his hands and patted the thunderstone. Thunder. Kaboom. A muffled sound of thunder could be heard and then there was no other sound. The thunders were still spinning, giving them a feeling that there was a vortex forming in the center. What's going on? What's this? Did he fail? All the Heaven Realm and Earth Realm martial artists turned pale. The expression on Zhang Han's face gradually darkened. Once again he used his full strength to activate his magic and shouted, "Thunder! Thunder! Thunder! Give me the lightning!" However, nothing happened. At this time, the first elder's face darkened. "There are only 1,000 left. I'll go up and have a look." Zhang Han could not believe it and wanted to fly up to see what was going on. The first elder was staring at the center of the whirlpool and did not stop him. Whoosh! Zhang Han quickly soared into the air. When he approached the dark clouds, the lightning flashed even more intensely and the situation over there could be seen with the naked eye. Whoosh! He approached the center point again. When he was only 50 meters away, the lightning trembled, as if it was trying to vent its anger on him. Damn it! Zhang Han cursed angrily and retreated back to the platform. His face darkened. How did everything get so messed up? The lightning seems to be condensing. Zhang Han said through gritted teeth. As powerful as he was, he had been at Heaven Peak stage for more than 10 years and now he was feeling decidedly nervous. They are condensing, don't be impatient. The Grand Elder of Wind Snow School had always been calm and composed. He observed for a while and slowly replied, Maybe this is an opportunity. The energy won't disappear for no reason. Let's wait and see. His words made Zhang Han feel dumbfounded. Zhang Han was now looking at the scene in the air nervously. 700. 500. There are only 300 left. Only 50. What should we do? It's all gone. All gone. Seeing all the lightning dissipating, Zhang Han felt his heart pounding hard, as if his entire family had died. At this moment, there was dead silence on the top of the mountain. Even the lightning had subsided, and except for a lot of thin dark clouds rolling in the air, everything else seemed to have stopped. The silence made people feel depressed. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Swish. The first elder's face froze and his eyes blinked. There is something. Clatter. He threw out a massive amount of spiritual sense energy, trying to lock it with his immense spiritual force. Although he knew that nothing would happen here, he subconsciously wanted to block it. In this way, he could react immediately even if there was an accident. Just as his energy rose, boom, a thunderous sound resounded through the main mount of Wind Snow School. A thunderbolt of more than 40 feet long flashed by, which was much smaller than before. However, the color of this lightning was extremely bright and the energy contained within it made the first elder frown. Zhang Han's eyes widened. What's that? He couldn't confirm or believe it. Attribute lightning. The first elder said this one word at a time. The attribute lightning shows that the lightning has reached the critical point of promotion, but it is not perfect, since there is not enough energy for it to be promoted. No matter what kind it is, the lightning can improve the level of your axe and enhance its combat effectiveness. Before, I thought that your axe would advance to the 6th level, but with the attribute lightning, it may be promoted to the 6th level. They all knew that things with attributes were very rare and high-ended. For example, water, yin, yang, ice and so on were all extra attribute powers. This kind of power was countless, such as illusion, speed, strength. In their eyes, what was related to attribute was something that could only be met but not sought. Now the first elder said that they had condensed the attribute thunder. Zhang Han was so excited. First elder, what should we do? Zhang Han clenched his fists and said excitedly, if first elder is willing to cultivate me, I will serve Wind Snow School all my life and be first elder's right-hand man. I see. The first elder nodded, staring at the surging clouds, and said slowly, there is no hurry, I'll go back to the main sect again. What was he going to do? Just take the treasures. Thank you, first elder. Zhang Han cupped his hands. He was really excited. After all, 6th level and the level close to that were not the same. Although the level close to the 6th level sounded pleasant to hear, it was actually the 5th level. Without any expression showing on his face, the first elder left the main mount. At this time, Zhang Han, who was in the air, was slightly relieved. If the first elder kept searching this place carefully, the energy of the array would be used up and the change of the crystals would also cause a slight fluctuation, which would put him in danger of being discovered. The energy needs to be digested. It's really a headache. Zhang Han had a splitting headache. The 8,000 clouds above his soul sense sea were in the purest form, and then the energy he absorbed formed the clouds, which were very mottled, with more impurities and were in different shapes. He needed to refine them himself. 9,000. This trip is really worth it. Although Zhang Han had a headache, in his heart, he felt very happy. He was very clear how difficult it was to form the clouds above his soul sense sea. He could accumulate clouds and rain at any time, but he had no choice but to suppress them all the time. Now, he had 1,000 more clouds than before. But their energy was mottled, making it difficult for him to suppress them. But for Zhang Han, this pain was just a small storm. It's time to go out. Zhang Han did not look at the excited Zhang Han. After relaxing for a few minutes, he slowly retreated, merged into heaven-earth formation and left. He went back to Zhang Guangyu and removed the array. Nearly 20 pieces of medium-grade crystals had been consumed with little energy left. Though the remains of them were still better than complete low-grade crystals, they were not enough to be coveted by Wind Snow School. My son. Zhang Wengyu's face changed. He came close, looked at Zhang Han from head to toe for a few times and then smiled. After taking a long breath, he said, "It's good that you're back. Did you make it?" Dong Chen also came close and looked at Zhang Han with eyes that shone brightly. He never expected that Zhang Han could do such an impossible thing. Successful. Zhang Han smiled and said, "Wind Snow School has lost at least 15 kinds of 5th stage spirit treasures and more than 30 kinds of 4th stage spirit treasures. Why are there so many of them?" Dong Chen was surprised. "Well, there should be more next time." Next time? Dong Chen's eyes widened. Maybe more than once. Zhang Han thought that if the energy of the attribute thunder was stronger next time, they would still put a lot of materials and energy into it. Dong Chen's hand trembled. "Young master, you have a good boy. He is really the lucky star of Heavenly Knights sect." "Ha ha, Uncle Dong, you're welcome. After all, he is my son and will definitely win honors for my father." Zhang Guangyu laughed. Dong Chen's face froze slightly. After staying silent for 2 seconds, he said, "I take back what I said before. Zhang Han, you amaze me, but I still want to test you. You are at the golden age. Though your family is important, it's not everything for you. You are wrong." The smile on Han's face suddenly faded and his eyes became cold. He said in a low voice, "They are all I have." Boom. There seemed to be a thunderclap in Dong Chen's mind. At this moment, he felt that Zhang Han was a little profound and looked like an immortal. He could not refute. He wanted to say something, but found it difficult to say it. Clatter. Zhang Wengyu felt different. His whole body seemed to be engulfed by warm currents. He totally understood Zhang Han's attitude and state of mind. Good boy. He was so touched that his eyes were much brighter than usual, because of the unshed tears. Men don't cry. Zhang Wengyu smiled and patted Zhang Han on the shoulder. "Let's go home." "Okay, let's go home." If there were no relatives and no home, the house was merely a residence. Besides, Zhang Han also wanted to go back early to accompany Ziyan and Meng Meng. Alas! Dong Chen sighed silently. Perhaps he was right. It was not wrong to be focused on martial arts, but practicing martial arts might also be a way to protect someone, just as he guarded Heavenly Knights sect. Unfortunately, the Heaven Realm barrier was not that easy to break. Dong Chen fell silent and followed Zhang Han all the way back to Heavenly Knights sect. He seemed to be choked by words. But when he looked at Tiny Tot, his depression lifted. At least there is increasing hope for Heavenly Knights sect. Dong Chen smiled subconsciously and this was seen by the 5th elder beside him. "Are you smiling?" "What? I don't think so. I was not mistaken. You seemed to be smiling just now." "Really?" "Yes." "Oh. You were smiling while looking at those spirit beasts. What's wrong?" Dong Chen looked at the 5th elder in confusion. He felt that the elder's eyes were somewhat meaningful. Under Dong Chen's gaze, the 5th elder touched his head and said, "Well, it seems that what my disciples said is true." "What's true?" "It seems you've been fond of eating spirit beasts recently. Up to now, we've lost 6 spirit beasts, 2 a day on average, which made the ordinary disciples of Command Beast Peak panic, and you asked me to go to the Beast Mountain to catch spirit beasts." The 5th elder did not continue, because his meaning was very clear. "Grand Elder, you are the chief culprit. Go out and catch the beasts yourself if you want to eat. Why are you harming your own sect? What's more, he only took the spirit beasts from ordinary disciples." Dong Chen found that this was the second time that he could not refute. What's going on? After all, he was a Grand Elder. Are you too idle recently? Dong Chen suddenly looked at 5 elder and asked. I'm fine. The 5th elder was confused. Why are you suddenly asking me this question? However, when he knew the reason, his face darkened. Our sect has consumed a lot of crystals. Since you are so free, why don't you go to the ancient mine? Dong Chen said lightly. What? No, no, number. I'm not free at all. I have something very important to do. Alas, my two disciples just asked me to break through. I forgot that I have to go first. I'm not going to the Beast Mountain. I'm too busy. Whoosh. The fifth elder ran away in a flash. He didn't want to provoke Dong Chen. Looking at his back, Dong Chen snorted and said, if you gossip again, the whole Command Beast Peak will go to the Beast Mountain for the trial. The fifth elder staggered. You have eaten the spirit beasts belonging to the others and you still want to close their mouths? Okay, okay, you are the boss and everything is determined by you. The fifth elder fled the scene stiffly, afraid that if he was a little slower, he would really be sent to the ancient mine. Dong Chen didn't know what he was feeling. He looked at Tiny Tot before he turned around and flew out of Heavenly Knight's sect. 2 beasts a day, if they stayed here for a month. At this rate, wouldn't they lose 60 beasts? That would be a disaster for Command Beast Peak. Chapter 749, Irrefutable Evidence. After the fifth elder returned to the North Mountain, he went directly to the Command Beast Peak. At Command Beast Peak, many spirit beasts were ambling about on the mountainside. At the back of the main hall on the top of the mountain, there was a huge white-haired tiger, which was more than 3 meters tall and its chi was strong. The white tiger was at the early stage of Earth Realm and it was cultivated by the manager of Command Beast Peak from the stage of Grandmaster Peak. Fifth Elder, do you have any news? In the backyard of the hall at the peak, the manager, several disciples and the 6 people who lost their spirit beasts were all there. Seeing the fifth elder coming in, the manager of Command Beast Peak host raised his question. This. The fifth elder was reluctant to speak. He was wondering if he should tell the truth. Telling the truth would make the disciples of Command Beast Peak more flustered. If they knew that the Grand Elder liked to eat spirit beasts now, they would not dare to walk them. It seems that the Grand Elder is conducting some studies now. He met your spirit beasts and took them away to be the objects of observation. I have not inquired about the details. I'll ask him when he comes back. The fifth elder whispered. In fact, he was right, but the subject of the so-called study was whether the meat of the spirit beast tasted good or not. Study what? The manager of Command Beast Peak host frowned since he did not know the reason. What does this mean? He can tell me if he wants any spirit beasts. Why does he have to be so furtive about it? He is not being furtive, maybe it's just a temporary interest. The Grand Elder is now in the Beast Mountain and he'll probably bring some spirit beasts back. Then you can let the disciples who lost their spirit animals choose from them. Let's stop here and I'll go and see Dai. The fifth elder was about to leave. He had not seen Dai's magnificent figure for several days and he missed it. The fifth elder was also thinking about how to get Dai. Is Dai the gorilla that young master brought back? The manager of Command Beast Peak host asked. Yes, that guy is very good. It has abundant chi and blood, good strength and great potential for growth. The fifth elder nodded. The last time I passed by, I found that the gorilla was about to break through the level of the divine realm. It is talented and likely to advance to a higher level. The Command Beast Peak host had not quite finished speaking when a figure quickly ran toward them. It was Xiaojiu, the one that he just mentioned. Master, my cold bear is missing. Master, please ask Grand Elder to give it back to me, or it will be late. Puff. The fifth elder suddenly felt that this was a little strange. Hasn't the Grand Elder gone? What's going on? What if? You stay here, I'll go and check. The fifth elder left in a hurry, flew into the air and went straight to the place where Zhang Han lived in the South Mountain. When he got to the mountain forest, he vaguely smelled a fragrance. Fragrance? When he came to the edge of the woods, he saw the 3 beasts heartily eating a cold bear. It's you. The fifth elder could not decide whether to cry or to laugh. Looking at Dai, who was eating the meat, he was surprised. It's chi. It seems that Dai can break through in 2 days. Has he eaten several spirit beasts? Isn't it amazing? He did not know that Dai was actually absorbing the drop of blood. which would increase its strength every day, not to mention the spirit beast meat, which had more energy. Good, good. The fifth elder was surprised. After watching for more than 10 minutes, he turned pale and quickly retreated. When the fifth elder appeared again in Beast Peak, his face was a little stiff and he said in a low voice, Xiaojiu's cold bear has indeed been eaten by the Grand Elder. No. Didn't you hear anything? What are you talking about? The Grand Elder is beginning to eat spirit beasts. My God, it's the Grand Elder. The expressions on the faces of the people at the scene changed greatly and even the Command Beast Peak host was shocked. Didn't the Grand Elder say that anyone who steals a spirit animal to eat will be severely punished? Maybe it's what the Grand Elder is studying. Don't worry about it, we can't really argue with him, right? Moreover, the Grand Elder will go to the Beast Mountain personally to catch more spirit beasts and the quantity he brings back will make up for those eaten by him. The fifth elder was tired. It was really difficult to tell lies. But there was no way. After all, it was the Grand Elder who decided to suffer on behalf of others. Well, we don't have to worry too much. Don't make a fuss even if more spirit beasts are missing. Anyway, the Grand Elder will catch better beasts for us. Well, that's it. I'll go first. The fifth elder left in a flash. He was fond of Dai and decided to hide the truth after seeing that it was about to break through to Divine Realm. He was not worried at all since there was someone who would be taking the responsibility. The seventh beast, the Command Beast Peak host, was very depressed. He could only hope that the first elder could bring more spiritual beasts back this time, otherwise, Command Beast Peak would close down sooner or later. But on the other side was the Grand Elder, so what could he do? Dong Chen was not aware of this, he just wanted to make the fifth elder believe him, but he did not expect that the whole Command Beast Peak was told that he had eaten the spiritual beasts. With the irrefutable evidence from the fifth elder, Dong Chen was now recognized as the culprit. But he was not too bothered about it. He knew that Zhang Han would stay here for at most 1 month, because Meng Meng was about to start school in September and the little girl had to go to kindergarten. He could afford to lose 60 spiritual beasts a month, although it was not difficult for him, a Heaven State strong, to catch spirit beasts at Grandmaster Peak. There were spirit beasts at Heaven Peak stage in the Beast Mountain, which might pose a threat to him and even lead to a surge of beasts which would attack the sect. That kind of thing had happened before. In order to cultivate Tiny Tot, it was not a big deal to make an exception. Dong Chen believed that he would not attract the other party's attention outside the Beast Mountain. But time was limited. He went out for a whole afternoon and brought back 3 spirit beasts at Grandmaster Peak. Knowing that they were going to lose money, the Command Beast Peak host's eyes trembled. Another spirit beast went missing that night. The Command Beast Peak host could not wait any longer. He came to the hall of the Grand Elder and was nearly in tears as he made his complaints. The Grand Elder went to the Beast Mountain overnight. He was tired too. How can they eat so much? Dong Chen finally understood what Zhang Han had said. It was reasonable for him to say, they are all money-losing goods. Therefore, Dong Chen was kept busy going to the Beast Mountain every night. For 7 days in a row, he caught 63 beasts and activated a strong chi in the mountain. It seemed that something was about to wake up, so he stopped when he got the warning signal. These days, Zhang Han stayed with his wife and daughter. Meanwhile, he kept refining the clouds above his soul sense sea. It took time to remove impurities. Until the 10th day. Boom. All the impurities were removed and more than 9,000 thunderclouds continued to drive the expansion of the whole soul sense sea. What will these clouds look like when it rains? Zhang Han doubted whether he could really own 10,000 clouds, which was 10 times more than those of a cultivator at perfect innateness stage. Perhaps sensing the chi of Zhang Han, Zhang Guangyu came to him with a smile and asked, I think your chi has been suppressed long enough. Why not break through now? Not yet. Zhang Han shook his head. It's time for you to do that. Zhang Guangyu was amused. It's no use just accumulating now. You can feel the difference between heaven realm and earth realm only when you advance to the divine realm. It's okay for me to talk about it in advance since you are powerful enough. Divine realm not only means the promotion of spiritual force, but also the promotion of psychokinesis or soul sense, which is in your mind. You can check on the surrounding situation, and even those who are gifted can launch amazing attacks with the combination of their spiritual force and secret method. There are lots of benefits you are not aware of. Although your spiritual sense surprised me, you are still below divine realm. It's not the same in essence. It makes sense. The corners of Zhang Han's mouth quivered as he nodded his head in agreement. The so-called divine realm, for soul sense, is a process of accumulating clouds into rain. Think about it, soul sense is like a lake. But there is no water in it. You should keep refining and accumulating clouds through constant cultivation, and then it will rain to form a small lake of soul sense. It's the process to reach divine realm. When the lake of spiritual sense mind trick is formed, it is the interpretation of soul sense's breakthrough into earth realm. I see. Zhang Han nodded his head again and said with a smile, it's quite right, but it's not a lake, but a sea called Sense Sea, which means a sea of soul sense. Soul sense sea? Zhang Guangyu was confused. How can that small area be called the sea? Zhang Han thought for a moment and asked, Dad, how many clouds did you have in the process of reaching divine realm? Oh. Zhang Guangyu chuckled. A hero is silent about his past glories. Zhang Han? He was a little confused and subconsciously asked, you should remember the specific number, right? Well, forget it, I'll tell you. You are good enough now, don't feel too much pressure when you hear it. After all, Zhang Han was at a lower stage than Zhang Guangyu, who had been cultivating over the years. Although Zhang Han had the amazing martial arts heritage of predecessors, it did not represent his strength. In this regard, Zhang Guangyu was confident and proud, so he slowly said, thinking back to the time when I accumulated clouds into rain, there were 721 clouds. Ha ha. Zhang Han almost laughed. After thinking about it, he remained calm and said, it's really amazing and I must try harder. At least I should keep up with my father's cultivation. That's it. I'll go to Wine Snow School again tomorrow. Zhang Guangyu wanted to say something else, but when he heard that Zhang Han was going to Wine Snow School, his attention was immediately drawn to that. Okay, Uncle Dong and I will accompany you this time. Don't be careless just because you were that successful last time. Zhang Guangyu thought for a moment and warned. The first elder of Wind Snow School is very powerful. Even Uncle Dong has suffered losses several times at his hands. His moves are countless and fierce. However, Zan, the Sky Dragon in Kungsu, is not so powerful. Although he is also at Heaven Peak stage, he can't defeat Uncle Dong. Only if he can really refine a 6th level treasure, it will then be different. Son, you can stop him, and it is also a great achievement for you to get so many treasures of Wind Snow School. Ask me for help if you need any resources. I do need something in a few days. What do you want? Is there a 5th level alchemy furnace? Chapter 750, Soaring Thunderclouds. Yes, it belongs to the 6th elder, you can borrow it. Zhang Guangyu nodded and his eyes shone as he said, I haven't seen you refining pills. It is said that your success rate is nearly 100%, while the total success rate of the 6th elder is only 20%. It's nothing. Zhang Han shook his head slightly. It's just refining some low-level medicinal pellets. I've also caused the furnace to explode 3 times before because of the material used. However, the success rate of high-level medicinal pellets are related to my strength, and the highest success rate is 60%. However, I don't know the specific rate yet. I have to break into innateness stage first. Zhang Han once tried refining high-level medicinal pellets and the success rate reached 60%. Even for some aged alchemists who were at past tribulation stage, the success rate was only 20%, which was still high, because their average success rate was about 3%. The so-called high-level medicinal pellets referred to the medicinal pellets from the 6th level to the 8th level. The 3rd level to the 6th level were middle-level medicinal pellets and those below were low-level ones. Although Zhang Guangyu did not understand this, he was surprised. The success rate is very high. Of course, whatever he was good at, Zhang Han was not modest about it. Well, you surprise your father every day. Zhang Guangyu pretended to sigh, but he patted Zhang Han on the shoulder with a smile. Besides the alchemy furnace, do you need some other resources? Is it necessary to use Thunder Yang wood to refine Thunder Yang pellet? That's right. In addition to the alchemy furnace, I need at most 2 kinds of 5th stage spirit treasures and a dozen kinds of 4th stage spirit treasures. There are 10 kinds of 4th stage treasures in Mount New Moon. If the materials are suitable, maybe I can refine the best Thunder Yang pellet. The best? Zhang Guangyu had a strange look on his face. I heard the 6th elder say that there are only low, middle and top grade pills. He was lucky to refine a top stage pill once, which was enough for him to show off for 5 or 6 years. What do you think is the best? What surpasses the top grade is the best and we can absorb it perfectly. Zhang Han replied with a chuckle. The best. Zhang Guangyu was surprised. This is the first time I heard of it, but it is said that Thunder Yang pellet can promote anyone to divine realm. Can ordinary people also make it? It's impossible for ordinary people to do that. I said there should be restrictions, otherwise it would be too incredible. Zhang Guangyu laughed. But before he finished speaking, Zhang Han added, maybe obvious strength is enough, which can be directly promoted to divine realm. However, it may take some time to digest the medicinal pellet and it is impossible for someone to finish the process in one day, because he can't absorb the pellet all at once and needs continuous improvement and promotion with the help of Thunder Yang pellet. Buzz. Zhang Guangyu shook his head a moment later. When we broke through to divine realm, it was not easy for us to cultivate all the way. I did not expect that there was such a method. Let's stop talking about it, or I will feel depressed. I'd better tell you something about Heavenly Knights sect. Okay. Zhang Han smiled and did not say anything more. In Heavenly Knights sect, the person with the highest combat effectiveness is the Grand Elder, who has been at the peak for many years. In fact, there is a gap between Heaven Peak Stage and Heaven Realm, but it is not too big. For example, only several people are likely to defeat Uncle Dong in the dozens of sects in Kungzu World. Those who can't defeat him but managed to escape are all the more mature guys. In this respect, I feel that you are somewhat lacking. I heard that in all the battles you took part in, you never gave in. It's true that martial artists should fight, but you should only do what you can. The invincible power is not of great use. Zhang Han shook his head and laughed. That's because I haven't met the people who can frighten me. My opponents were too weak. No one has ever done it before, but that doesn't mean no one will not do it in the future. Zhang Guangyu continued, then there are the elders. Besides Uncle Dong, we have 5 elders who are good at array skills. Well, they were defeated by you last time and have not come out from seclusion till now. The 3rd elder is stronger and he is proficient in many secret methods. Besides, the 5th elder is the former manager of Command Beast Peak and is skilled in training beasts. The 6th elder is mainly responsible for alchemy. The last one is the 8th elder, who is also powerful and likes to study music, calligraphy and painting, much like a scholar. The protectors under the elders are all at Earth Realm. There are dozens of them, including the managers of each peak. Heavenly Knights sect has a strong foundation and was once the overlord, but after decades of war, it is now only one of the top 8 sects in Kungzu World. I had hoped that with my efforts, the situation could be overturned or our glory of that time could be restored. However, it was not to be. Wind Snow School came to look for trouble. In the beginning, your grandfather did not choose to expand Heavenly Knights sect. He lived alone in Kungzu World. But Wind Snow School chose to expand rapidly. Now, the gap between us has been revealed. Roughly speaking, Wind Snow School has more than 30 Heaven Realm cultivators and nearly 100 Earth Realm disciples. A trace of depression flashed through Zhang Guangyu's eyes. Seeing this, Zhang Han gave him a smile and said, "Dad, do you believe me?" "Well?" Zhang Guangyu was stunned first, then nodded. "You are my son, of course I believe you. Since you want to expand Heavenly Knights sect, my prediction is correct. Don't worry, I'm still observing Heavenly Knights sect. It's good, but there are still many problems." Zhang Han looked at the people playing at the side of the lawn, fixed his eyes on Meng Meng and said slowly, "When I reach the innateness stage, I can repel Wind Snow School. When I reach the elixir stage, Wind Snow School can be destroyed easily." "Destroy them easily?" Zhang Guangyu murmured, shook his head slightly, but did not say anything. After sitting for a while, Zhang Guangyu left for the North Mountain to borrow the furnace from the sixth elder. For an alchemist, furnaces are like their lovers. When he heard his request, the sixth elder was not very happy. It took Zhang Guangyu half an hour to persuade him to agree, but he was still unsatisfied and said that Zhang Guangyu's son could not be skillful enough to use the divine furnace. Zhang Guangyu refuted this, but the sixth elder did not believe it at all. The success rate of more than 50% was too incredible. The sixth elder agreed to lend the furnace for the sake of Zhang Guangyu. Dong Chen? It was very likely that he would be kicked out by the sixth elder. Last time when Dong Chen tried to learn how to practice his alchemy, he blew up 5 furnaces. This time the sixth elder agreed because he thought that Zhang Han would not damage his furnace. Instead of asking Zhang Guangyu to take the furnace away, he made an appointment with Zhang Guangyu to pick it up in advance when necessary. In the same evening, lying on the big bed, Zhang Han discussed with Meng Meng, "Meng Meng, I have to go out tomorrow." As always, Zhang Han came back early every time. Meng Meng was not so resistant about his going out, but was still a little reluctant to let him go. The next day, Dong Chen, Zhang Guangyu and Zhang Han once again flew near Wind Snow School. Zhang Han started the array and entered into it. The force on the other side was stronger than the last time. There were 2 powerful elders standing beside the Grand Elder of Wind Snow School, and they were always among the elders of the main sect. After a glance, Zhang Han withdrew from the array. "Why are you back so fast this time?" Dong Chen said in confusion. "It's not time yet. I'll go again in 3 hours." Zhang Han shook his head slightly. "Just wait a moment, how many treasures do they have this time?" Dong Chen asked. "According to the concentration, there are at least 20 kinds of divine objects. It seems that they are determined to succeed this time." Zhang Han sighed with emotion. They were really rich and powerful and had consumed more than 30 kinds of divine objects. So many divine objects? Is the Grand Elder of Wind Snow School willing to take them out? Dong Chen had some doubts. Did Zhang Han gauge them correctly? What if the holy objects are regarded as divine objects? The gap between them is large. Are you sure of your assessment? Your array skill is amazing, but your basic strength is still a little weak. The ancient cursed rock, Dai, Little High, your father and us are all your helpers, and you can use all the treasures in Heavenly Knights sect besides 3 of your Thunder Yang treasures, but all of these are not yours. Dong Chen frowned slightly and said, "Only your basic strength is yours, which is also the reason why I don't like you to live a leisurely life. Your treasures, your spirit beasts and even your backers, are not your foundation. Your personal strength is what is most important. You are not at divine realm yet, and your spiritual sense mind trick is not strong enough. Is it possible that you have sensed them wrongly? If the news is wrong, it will affect my next decision." He had a headache. The decision-making in the war could not be wrong, and a wrong message would affect his layout. Originally, he thought that Wind Snow School's energy had been consumed and he wanted to attack one of its subsects. Without the consumption of divine objects, they could restrain more senior leaders of Wind Snow School, and their protectors and elite disciples would have a great advantage in the war. The main battlefield did not belong to the senior leaders, because it was difficult for them to kill each other. The sect war had always been battles among all the disciples, and they were the ones who were the casualties. Therefore, when Dongchen heard the news, he suddenly lost his confidence. He could not see it with his own eyes, nor could he gauge the specific situation. He believed in Zhang Han, but he doubted Zhang Han's judgment. Zhang Wangyu frowned at Dongchen's words. He thought that the actual situation should be as what Zhang Han had said. If they wanted to refine 6th level treasures, how could they not consume a lot of 5th level treasures? Zhang Han looked calm. When he heard that, he sighed, "I do not want to make you more depressed." Huh? Dongchen's eyes narrowed slightly. What did he mean? Even Zhang Guangyu was confused. My father has accumulated 721 clouds above his soul sense. See, how many do you have, Uncle Dong? Zhang Han asked calmly. Hearing this, Dongchen kept silent for 2 seconds and then replied, 756, but in the process of reaching divine realm. The third elder has the most clouds, 799. Your grandfather, Shan Wang, had 725 clouds. He is invincible in divine realm. I think you should know the meaning of this. The honor of Shan Wang is not easy to come by. At last, he fixed his eyes on Zhang Han. You have soul sense only when you are a grand master. If it doesn't have any effect on your breakthrough to divine realm, and it will become a powerful assistant. If it has an impact, you need to pay more to make up for it. So what do you want to express? Your soul sense C hasn't appeared yet, and there can't be any clouds. It's just that you are not experienced enough. Zhang Han decided not to be modest. All of a sudden, his eyes shone as brightly as diamonds. 9,000 clouds vibrated and a very strong soul sense covered the area of 10 meters. Huh? Dongchen was shocked. It was the first time for him to feel that. The young man was too strong. Why do I feel as if this power is almost the same as mine? Zhang Wangyu said nervously. Have you opened your soul sense C? Dongchen was shocked and said, the energy is so magnificent and it is incredible even if there are some changes in your brain. What is this situation? You're right. Zhang Han retracted his soul sense, looked at the direction of Wind Snow School and replied faintly, when I was a Grand Master, I used the secret method to open up my soul sense C and tried to advance the rain. In Mount Snow in the northeast, Uncle Gai and I entered a relic and got a chance there. It was an ancient relic with a spirit beast at the elixir stage sleeping in it. If that black bull comes out, I'm afraid that it can bring down this mountain with one move. So the Heaven Peak stage is just a beginning for you. Don't doubt my words. In my eyes, you are only temporarily stronger than me. Dongchen's expression changed slightly. Zhang Guangyu raised his eyebrows helplessly and felt tired. He sighed, Han, don't talk to Uncle Dong like this. I'm telling the truth. Zhang Han was calm. He shook his head slightly and looked at Dongchen, whose face was stiff. If I don't tell him the truth, he'll probably look down on me all the time. Zhang Han said, my soul sense has not yet taken shape, so can you sense how many clouds I have above my soul sense C? Huh? Zhang Han's words immediately attracted their attention. Zhang Wangyu glanced at Dongchen and found that he was not very happy. It was good that he did not hit Zhang Han on the spot after being provoked, but it did not mean that he was not angry. After thinking about it for a while, Zhang Guangyu could no longer stand the uncomfortable pause. He guessed, you are almost as powerful as me, so there should be a lot of them. I guess you have more than 900 clouds. Your grandfather's soul sense is aggressive, dazzling and blazing, but the energy of his clouds is weaker than yours. I think you have about 905 clouds. Zhang Wangyu did not understand it at all. He just guessed a number. Even Dongchen thought about it, but he did not make a guess. He just thought that 900 was too much for Zhang Han. But they did not expect that Zhang Han would give such a fantastic number. Add a zero after it. What do you mean, add a zero after 905, isn't that 9050? Zhang Wangyu froze. Is it true? In this regard, Dongchen was also very skeptical. 9,000 thunderclouds are not my limit, but I can show you some secrets of my soul sense now. Zhang Han waved his right hand. In a flash, Dong Chen and Zhang Wenyu felt as if they were in the middle of the starry sky, with dense clouds above them, covering the whole heaven and earth, making them feel extremely depressed. Swish. The vision was fleeting. The expressions on both Dong Chen and Zhang Wenyu's faces changed completely. It's true, 9,000 clouds, what does that mean? My God, you have 10 times more clouds than your grandfather, how can it be true? Dong Chen was stunned. 9,000. Zhang Wenyu was already confused. Zhang Han shook his head slightly. It seemed that they needed a long time to calm down. He did not mind disclosing the secret of the 9,000 clouds to someone close to him. Moreover, Zhang Han's trump cards were his soul sense C at innateness stage, his T wood thunder and his 10 inches stanchion. For the next 10 minutes, there was silence. Alas! Dong Chen sighed, feeling very depressed. He felt like he was talking nonsense and this young man was so weird. I was wrong before. You have such strong soul sense and you can gauge those treasures correctly. This also shows that after you reach divine realm, your soul sense will reach heaven realm. As long as the resources are provided, you can also reach heaven realm without any difficulties. Dong Chen said, with a glimmer of help in his eyes. Good boy. No wonder you dare to talk to me like that. You are full of confidence. Good. When you reach heaven realm and master the method to break the heaven-earth formation, Wind Snow School will lose to Heavenly Knights sect in the end. Ha! Zhang Wenyu was about to laugh. Shut up. Dong Chen's angry voice sounded in Zhang Wenyu's mind. Zhang Wenyu was confused. I just want to laugh, isn't it okay? Does Dong Chen want to vent his anger on me? Hide. Dong Chen's face was grim and he turned his gaze to the left. Zhang Wenyu's face also changed. They saw 13 people flying toward Wind Snow School and quickly entering it. They called in a dozen martial artists at Earth Peak stage again. Dong Chen frowned. I'm afraid they are planning to attack Heavenly Knights sect. You think too much. Zhang Han sneered and waved his right hand. When the array appeared, he hid in it and moved forward. He was going to cultivate. Only then did Zhang Wenyu smile and sigh. Uncle Dong, don't mind his words. He is still young. No. Dong Chen shook his head slightly. He's right. Heaven Peak stage is just the beginning and his understanding of cultivation is better than us. Even the elixir stage is nothing in his eyes. He knows about the ancient demonic beast, array, alchemy and incantation well. He has taught Chen Chenking, Gaik Sing Kong and even the warlord of Chan clan. I can't see through him, so I've tried many times to stimulate him. He knew what I meant, so he took the initiative to share his secret to assure us. Dong Chen smiled. Do you really think I like to pick at his faults? Do you really think that your son was infuriated by me before he told us his secret? This slippery young man is very clever and he always knows what is in my mind. It's a good start for him to say these things to me face to face. Which means he is beginning to accept Heavenly Knights sects. He was actually telling us how talented he is by showing us his soul sense just now. When he mentioned the Black Bullet Elixir stage, he was telling us that Wind Snow School amounts to nothing and reminding me not to be irrational when making plans. This interesting boy always has some hidden meaning in his words. Maybe the other elders can't understand the elder. Oh, you either. You are far worse than your son. Zhang Wenyu was again confused. Why are you starting to slander me again? Zhang Wenyu snorted. It doesn't matter. Can't my son be my backer in the future? Fine. Dong Chen nodded with a smile. Now that you slandered me, I'll take revenge. Zhang Wenyu said casually, I heard that Uncle Dong likes to eat spirit beasts recently. Many disciples of Command Beast Peak have come to me to complain. I'm clearing up a messy situation caused by your son. Zhang Wenyu almost choked when he heard that. What do you mean by that? Zhang Wenyu felt this was strange. He didn't know what Dai had done. After hearing Dong Chen's story, Zhang Guangyu was at a loss whether to laugh or to cry. The 3 spirit beasts my son keeps are just 3 little demons. They are really special. Let them eat whatever they like, it doesn't matter. Dong Chen replied with a smile, there's a rock after all. Well, I heard from my son that the gorilla will become King Kong in the future. What are you talking about? Dong Chen's eyes widened. King Kong? Before his question was over, a whisper came from his side. Let's go. Zhang Han appeared 20 meters away from them and his face was a little pale. What's the matter? Zhang Guangyu was shocked when he sensed Zhang Han's disordered qi. I'm fine, most of them are poisons, I'll go back and refine them for a few days. Zhang Han had a terrible headache, but he found that there were now 9,700 thunderclouds above his soul sense. See, he smiled. All their efforts were worth it.